#1 seed in Korea. And while not as dominant as SKT, have been able to come into this tournament as the favorites. And we didn't know what was going to happen in this pick and ban phase. Already some stuff flying through.
Yeah, we expected a lot of mid lane bans here, honestly, because the mid lane champion pool has shaped up to be very distinctively tiered. It's Syndra at the top, then Ryze right below, and then Aurelion Sol if you don't play. And SKT don't really play Aurelion Sol themselves, and ROX have shown that they could actually whip it out. That's why we see these 3 mid lane bans already.
Yeah, and I was also curious what was going to happen with the jungle bans, because in the semifinals when these teams played against EDG and RNG, there were several bans thrown at the team's junglers. But in this case, if you were going to throw bans at a jungler, you're also kind of banning out yourself. So in this sense, aside from Nidalee, all the available junglers are here, and I think ROX is an exceptional team with Elise. I just don't know if it's worthy of a first pick here.
Yeah, and honestly, the only surprise ban here really is that Ezreal on blue side from the ROX Tigers. I think they're actually happy that Jace has been taken off the board because they get the Caitlyn first pick. They're trading it for a lot of power picks. There's so many strong picks left. Even think of a Kennen right now on the 3rd rotation in this pick and ban because there's so many must-haves, like a Zyra, like an Olaf, early on as well for SKT.
And that's the thing when you're looking at these two teams' champion pools. They share so much. And I would say throughout the quarterfinals, Caitlyn really emerged as one of the dominant picks since being able to get priority in the bottom lane was so high. Here, you wouldn't be too surprised if they do pair Caitlyn with the Karma, but they can wait on that since SKT has already locked in their support in Zyra.
And this is so surprising to see the early Poppy from ROX, because you expect Smeb to be the carry. He could lock in an early Kennen, an early Rumble, and try and dumpster the top lane. However, if he takes away the one high-tier safe pick in that Poppy, then Duke has to dig in lower tiers of champions to find a counter. Yes, he could play the Trundle, but in a tournament meta game, this is actually a good steal.
I actually think that's a very interesting strategy by ROX, and I know a couple of weeks ago Smeb said how much pressure he was under to be hailed as the #1 player in the world coming in, and he's refocused into figuring out how to make his team the #1 team in the world. So the Poppy pick definitely speaks more towards that strategy.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's one thing that I absolutely love about people that have been the best in the world. A player I like for this is Pawn way back on Samsung White 2014, who was, I thought, the best mid laner in the world at the time because he could play so many different styles and being able to hard carry on a Kennen. We saw the highlight reel earlier in the day. Also, this Poppy, who's a great tank, great flanker, great engage tool, and bringing out both of these styles coming in for Smeb should be a treat to watch.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that Duke has picked Trundle most likely for the top lane because that is a matchup where Trundle will win in an extending laning phase, and it takes away the pressure from that lane for the ROX Tigers aside from teleport.
It is the expected pick into Poppy, but it is a pick that has seen barely any play in the tournament because there were so many of the likes of a Rumble available. But we have to move on because this pick and ban is going so fast. And we see an Ashe here all of a sudden, a champion that hasn't been played at all. If you would expect an Ashe pick in the ROX SKT matchup, you would expect it on Prey, because he's a fantastic Ashe player. But it does seem that ROX has done their homework with the Ezreal ban. It does seem like SKT is not leaning towards Jhin as a standard counter pick to Caitlyn.
Which is kind of remarkable, because Jhin has a pretty strong laning phase when you're considering it into Caitlyn, and the Zyra Jhin is just exceptional synergy and kill pressure. But obviously SKT has some other things in mind. They do like to mix things up fairly often in the first game of a best-of-5 to kind of feel the opponent out and almost give them a lot of the things that you would be fearful of. And they're definitely mixing things up with that Ashe.
And one great thing that comes with banning 3 mid laners out in total, 2 on the side of ROX and then the Aurelion Sol forced to be banned by SKT, is that the mid lane champion pool gets pinched. And the more you pinch the mid lane champion pool, the more likely it becomes for Victor to be able to get through the power drop in the early game, which is the 1 through 6. Faker has to offer an answer here to this Victor, and it's going to be a relatively slow scaling pick in the Orianna. So that's fine for Kuro to survive in lane.
Yeah, it's a very interesting pick and ban phase here for SKT. When I'm looking at it, it wouldn't be Worlds without Orianna, and Orianna is actually one of Faker's most successful champions as far as how many games he's played on it of all time, so not too surprising to see it come through here. But I was expecting a pick with a little bit more teamfight presence like a Cassiopeia, but that's just not what we see.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why we see Ashe back, Ashe has always historically been a good matchup into Caitlyn because she has poke advantage, she has a decently high range herself, doesn't really get contested too easily by Caitlyn. Combine her with Zyra, we've seen this lane matchup time and time again in the past. Season 3 was all about Ashe and Zyra all day, poke you 24/7, super annoying to play against. And honestly, with the resurgence of Zyra, we could actually see more and more Ashe come back as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It makes for a very strong lane. Of course, we've seen it forever, and it provides everything you kind of need, especially when you're not playing a high utility top lane like a Trundle. And Olaf as well is just kind of there to be a ball of stats. The engage tools have to come out of something, and an Ashe area to a Grasping Root's not too bad. The disengage tools are there with Pillar and Strangle Thorns, and you've got a great mix of long range damage, high damage uptime, and some utility in there as well. Now we are getting ready for game one of these semifinals, the best of 5 here in front of us. We have 3 to 5 hours of League of Legends entertainment coming at you tonight here from New York City. ROX Tigers and SK Telecom T1, hashtag ROX win, hashtag SKT win. The Summoners Cup is on the line and will be handed out in about 9 to 8 days time based on which team makes the final and which team can make it all the way there. Now it is time for game one of 2 South Korean juggernauts, SK Telecom T1 and ROX Tigers. Hit the rift right now.
So exciting to finally see this matchup once again. And we always have to talk about the early game, especially in this tournament, and track the junglers early because that's where the most mind games come in. It's actually been a while since we've gotten to see a good Elise versus Olaf matchup, since we've seen a lot of these things banned out against each other. Typically, the Olaf is picked before the Elise because at a certain point in the game, Olaf can just turn on the ultimate, run and kill Elise. But before the level 6 one comes in, Peanut can be very strong.
Yeah, we also need to look at the power of pushing lanes because this world's very much so is dominated by looking at draft and seeing, you know, who has the 2 or 3 winning lanes in the early game. If you look at that, SKT is not doing too shabby in that regard. Ashe Samurai can always challenge this Karma Caitlyn. Will be a skill test though.
Really nice plant spawns there for Wolf. Gorilla's going to be fine. He'll regen it back up, but obviously he's free gold.
And these guys are just posturing because the first one to get to the minion wave, that's what matters. Hitting those creep as early as you can without taking too much poke back. Very important.
Ooh. And if Bang is consistently able to land these volleys, it's going to go a pretty long way in cutting through the health potions because there isn't sustain in this lane. So being able to get the early poke can stop them from being able to push in.
Here we are, landing phase begins. We're watching the bottom lane pretty heavily, and Prey actually using his first Q not on the minions at all, but looks for Bang, who dodges it away. And it will still take until the next wave for the level 2 to really come through, but you're seeing that ROX especially, they're focusing their damage output on the champions themselves. They're not really interested in wave clearing so heavily right now. It's all about the second wave when that happens.
Yeah, and we also have to track if a lane does get a shove advantage, if they can get a deep ward in the jungle, because as soon as one of these teams know where the jungle is tracked, they can completely change the way they play the lanes.
But you can look at Wolf, he was fine taking all that damage early on because his priority was just to get the lane push. SKT have slightly more control in the bot lane by now, but not much will happen here. It's all about tracking the junglers and see where they strike first because they're going into different directions.
Yeah, and there's a lot of mind games that go on here, actually. Peanut has historically been incredibly aggressive on Elise, so Bengi is actually very worried about an Elise coming to kill him at his red buff, which is why Faker is scouting the Raptors right here, and he actually hasn't seen Peanut because he skipped to red buff. So there's a good chance they think he's somewhere else.
Yeah, small mistake from Faker on that steal right now too. Peanut skipped his Raptors too. He doesn't reveal, so he could definitely go bot lane. He looks to be pinging the dragon, so he wants to repel over the wall and bypass a potential ward.
Exactly. This is so clever for Peanut. Right now, SKT thinks Peanut is topside. They see him on the ward, they have to run.
And here's the escape. He knows he's been spotted by a ward at this point, watching Bang and Wolf run around and say, okay, there's a ward somewhere in that bottom delta of the river. Keep that in mind for Peanut. And yeah, he's going to take the Scuttle as his prize. And he could take Gromp if he knew it were up, but instead, it's actually Bangi who now has the Fog of War advantage.
That is one thing about Peanut, though. He doesn't waste time looking for ganks. If it doesn't work on in the first 5 or 10 seconds, he bails immediately, keeps the uptime. He's a very high-tempo jungler.
Yeah, and I also want to compliment the ward placement of SKT right there, placing it up in the river instead of in the tri-brush, because they were expecting if Peanut could make a way in there, that he could traverse the Dragon Wall. So, actually very well played by SKT, even though they didn't have knowledge until very late.
You can see the players really trying to play with vision. The Wolf Smite says, hey, Bangi, get out of my jungle, and this is the stun. That is dangerous. Now, Duke is here for the escort, and that's a really nice pillar as well. Keeps Smeb from coming in on that one, and it's an easy escape.
And that's obviously the power of getting the counter picked and the early pressure in the lane. The fact that your top laner can peel off. Despite the enemy top laner being closer technically, Duke is there first. He beats Smeb to that invade, and at least helps his jungle not getting collapsed upon.
These battles are always so close, right? It's a bunch of long-range champions who can put out plenty of damage if left unanswered. And you see Wolf, Bang, Prey, Gorilla, all of them just doing the very best they can to get what damage output, and you've noticed that there's a health advantage. Bang still has his potion on this Ashe. He's been able to play so safely. Prey down below half, Gorilla the same.
It's basically because Wolf has been looking for one thing. That's whenever somebody locks in an auto-attack animation, he hits both the creeps and the champion that is trying to last it at the same time. And if you back out of that poke, well, you're going to lose a last hit. Wolf has been pretty adamant about the poke early on. Yes, it cost him all his potions, but it got him the lane control, which means they can base whenever.
And also, how many times have we seen this at 4 minutes and 50 seconds where the enemy jungler is 10 CS up on Peanut? Peanut's path was very aggressive early because he wanted to get a surprise gank in the bottom lane. It didn't work. Bengi had chose to power farm, and he got a counter jungle in. So everything is working out very well for SKT here in the sense that their lanes are pushing and their jungler is out farming Peanut.
Yeah, and that is obviously the difference if you look at this matchup. And when ROX played EDG, EDG was lacking in terms of reaction. They always got caught on the play, and a lot of these proactive plays by ROX Tigers, they stuck, and they resulted in kills and pressure. Right now, SKT, they are the best team at being reactive and looking at what's going on. But another gank attempt here from Peanut, but look at the respect. Bang and Wolf, they don't pass the invisible barrier. That's kind of the do not cross line for ganks.
Yeah, you can even see the way Bang positions when the wave is gone. He walks up towards River to see what was happening. And the other point to talk about the failed gank chat is that's preparation as well. It's SKT looking at the old ROX Tigers game, seeing what some of Peanut's gank patterns are, seeing that he likes to jump over that dragon pit and saying, we're going to make sure we ward for that 3-minute gank. The ward's there, no shock, no kills.
Yeah, and they're just tracking him so well. But on top of that, the Ashe Zyra lane has been quite effective against Gorilla and Prey. Caitlyn was first picked by ROX, so when they do that, they're expecting priority around the bottom side. And even though Peanut hasn't completed ganks in the bottom side, he has approached it twice, which is a pretty high cost in the grand scheme of things, and it hasn't amounted to any advantages so far for ROX.
Yeah, that's why historically we see so few ganks in poke lanes, because they're so good at playing max range. All you need is a ward in river. You don't pass too deeply into the lane. But what we've seen in this early game is just the amount of information you can get off a single deep ward. They spotted Peanut early on his Raptors. They knew the jungle would be relatively empty. He either had two choices, base and delay himself, or go for a quick gank. That's why they always respect it. Right now, Peanut looking for more pressure in the top lane, taking down a pink ward. Right now, it's a vision game. It's about just getting a few wards in the enemy jungle and see if you can outmaneuver your opponent on the Rift.
Yeah, and also the longer this game is able to stay in this fairly neutral sense, the better it is for SKT. Peanut, though, through the pink ward, trying to brute force Duke, but he's level 6. That's an incredibly difficult turn.
This with the stun as well. It's Peanut who pulls aggro first. He will juke away eventually and does so. Of course, the King's Tribute is on, but now Kuro's in the mix as well, missing the death ray, but still, he's got the ulti on, and now Duke's gonna run out of help, but he flashed away in time to knock us back by Smeb's ultimate, and Duke will get away with his life, but it does mean a lot of pressure in the top lane, and the turret will lose a lot of health.
Yeah, action means reaction right here. The crossmap from SKT, they have Faker in the mid lane who could peel off, but he actually wants to get more CS and chip damage in the mid lane. Faker is 20 CS up in the mid lane already.
And for a team that we credit for being so fast, has been a step behind in the early game right here. That gank has to arrive before Duke hits level 6. Otherwise, he can just use the ultimate and absorb 3 people top lane. That gives Bengi a bigger lead, it gives Faker a bigger lead, and it gives SKT a nearly 1,000 gold advantage.
And you can see SKT trying to play with more than just the gold, but the tempo lead. They took over the bottom jungle. They're fighting for the red buff, and you can see that's going to be the red taken away by Wolf, and Peanut's now got to be a little bit afraid of the fact that everyone's coming by. And that Ashe arrow from Bang could have secured first blood for SKT. Thankfully for ROX, they were able to get away.
And that's the thing of going for very telegraphed plays. They come at a cost that you may not see immediately. While that gank was going on in the top lane, we saw an invade in the bottom side of the map. Bengi and Wolf walked in. They placed 3 deep wards, then pressured the bot lane, which meant that there was complete information of what was going on Peanut's red side jungle. The second he came back from that gank, that failed attempt, he walked bot into an ambush, and he felt himself threatened again, continuously under pressure.
And this is allowing Bengi to do a lot of work on the map. Who expected Bengi to be doubling Peanut's CS at 8 minutes and 30 seconds? That was unthinkable based on how they've been performing so far in this tournament.
It's the power of pre-game preparation. SKT saying, we only need 1 ban in an early round Olaf. We know you'll go Elise, and we know how your release works. We've read this book. We know the story. Page 3 is you gank bottom, and we're ready for it.
But it's also the power of in-game adaptation and using a little bit of information and then extrapolating so much more from it.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing. Being able to catch that one glimpse of Peanut on the bottom side and realizing that if he was to do that path and sneak past those wards, it must be this way. And therefore, Bengi was immediately able to punish it. It enables the rest of the lanes to play up. And also, Faker being able to stay in lane while Kuro gave that roam gives SKT a lot of winning positions.
See that 1,000 gold lead. Bottom still pushing in. Both AD carries got reasonably good recalls. They've actually got practically identical items, but now you're seeing the turret start to take some damage. SKT have the wards they need to feel comfortable now that Peanut's not going to sneak in quite as easily.
And that's the thing. Because they were able to get deep wards in the jungle of Peanut, he completely loses the element of surprise. We heard Kobe talking about all the mind games he's able to play. He can only execute those if his team has pressure. That's what's been giving ROX Tigers these amazing games in the LCK, is because so many of their lanes play aggressive, they can take over the map and allow Peanut to run around in secret. But that's not what's happening right now.
It's also very dependent on draft. Nobody would have actually predicted there to be a lane that could challenge, I think, a Caitlyn lane in push. After she gets early locked in, this Ashe Zyra is a bit of a surprise here. Because usually Caitlyn Karma should be able to handle the push in most matchups, even if there's a Zyra present.
But good by Bang, and he's playing very well on this Ashe, and you've got to give a ton of credit to Wolf as well. The early pick Zyra, we know right now she seems to be the queen of bottom lane supports, and Wolf playing it very acutely.
Yeah, and SKT with the Orianna mid and this Ashe Zyra that they're very well practiced on in the bottom lane have two pushing lanes, which allows them to take control of the bottom side of the map. The natural counter to that was what ROX did. They were just a little slow. You send 3 people to the top side and you snowball Smeb. But credit to Duke and the rest of SKT for absorbing that gank and allowing the rest of the map to win early on.
And honestly, the fact that Duke survived that meant so much for this game. Again, bot lane vision, we talked about it earlier. We can now start looking at these comps a little bit later as the game obviously slows down. There's a lot of river wards. Junglers are generally tracked. Nobody's going to really overextend. SKT and ROX are both playing a comp that likes playing 4-1, so the winning side lane is so important in that nature. So having a Trundle later on versus the Poppy is super important.
Yeah, even if Poppy were to get 20 or 30 CS up on Trundle, by the time the late game hits, Trundle will have that pushing wave. And that's why Smeb's roaming in.
Got this coming in, the flash to push him back, but it's not going to be the cocoon, and the shockwave buys all the time Faker needs. 1v3, easy escape, 2 summoners down, but he's okay.
And that is the second gank that SKT has been able to absorb. 3v1. 3-man ganks are very high rates of success, but they've been able to stop both of them.
Yeah, credit to Faker for doing exactly what he needed to do, but we also have to criticize ROX. Usually when you surprise an opponent 3v1, there should be a scenario that leaves your opposing mid lane with 0 escape options, even if it is Faker.
I absolutely agree with that one. It almost feels like ROX is playing a little bit jittery. They're trying to make these plays, but SKT is just sitting there. And Bengi needs to be able to take this CS advantage and transition it into a larger lead. So often we see SKT with a 1,000 or 2,000 gold lead and think, the game is over, because they are so good at playing with these leads. We'll see if they can do it against the best opponent in the ROX Tigers.
And then we definitely have to track how did they do that. Well, step 1 is obviously whenever somebody reveals himself, deep wards, 2 deep wards in the jungle, pressure in mid. They're not here to kill Kuro, just here to move him away from the turret and keep chipping away. This mid lane turret already so low, 13 minutes in the game. 2 wards in the enemy jungle. SKT continuously playing forward.
Against a Victor, no less, who especially once he gets Hex Core upgrades is incredibly difficult to push in towards. Getting 3/4 of that turret now means one small misstep in the mid lane would mean first turret, and they're trying to get that misstep with this Ashe Arrow.
Trying to make the steps, not going to land them just yet. ROX able to tiptoe around them without too much problem, but it is Faker pushing up now without any summoner, so a slow and a lot more damage into the evaporation. First blood in for Smeb, and the fight continues. Bangy throws the undertow, but he's running for dear life. Smeb with immaculate timing lands the knock of the follow-throughs there. 2-0 for ROX.
And ROX never quit trying to make the play. They consistently sent more and more people at SKT, and even if they failed the first 2 ganks, because SKT wasn't making proactive plays, eventually it worked for the ROX Tigers, and now they have the lead.
And this is exactly why ROX Tigers is considered a tournament favorite. They keep the pressure up even through failure. Look at Faker, get so down on nowhere, then bang into the wall. Follow Smeb here as he gets the perfect timing on Bengi out of that Ragnarok. Right now he gets out and he gets knocked up. What a good predict there. And then honestly, they get an elemental fire dragon after it. Infernal goes down and suddenly the game is even again.
That's the funny thing though, it's 2 for 0 in kills and the game is only even in gold. SKT have been so good at absorbing the pressure and trying to bring it a little bit later than 2016 ROX is seemingly comfortable with. Another shockwave now into Kuro, half HP on him, the shield's gonna time out and Faker looking for just a little bit more, and he's not quite gonna land it. Nice sidestep getting away from Cocoon, out goes Kuro.
You can just tell how good Faker's at sidestepping things. He's moving his mouse so close to his champion model right there. Immediate reaction from Bengi too. He knows the mid laner's out of the fold. Even if that play fails, The goal is just to chunk the enemy mid laner and create pressure on this turret.
SKT is attempting to win a war of attrition right here by consistently just getting the lanes pushing. Even though ROX is throwing gank after gank at them, SKT is hoping to take control of the map via their lanes and then have a very solid and structured teamfight composition.
Yeah, pressure top lane, bot lane, and in the mid lane. Faker aggressively using his spells just to send Kuro back in the base, allowing for Bengi to move in, leverage that CS advantage. ROX is under so much pressure, and without the teleport, they have to hang on. I don't see gonna fall super far behind.
Relentless pressure mid from Faker.
First turret of the game, despite being ganked several times over the course. It's SKT back with an 1,800 gold lead. It's Faker somewhat solo killing the mid lane turret. He got some help from Bengi earlier on, who has been farming up a storm and pushing the lanes as he needs. SKT in the advantage. Peanut will get away from Stranglethorns, but he's now on top of two members of SKT, looking for a bit more damage. Stun finds Gorilla. Wolf does not yet have Grassroots available, and a great flash gets Gorilla away from the Shockwave, but now Duke is back in the mix, and the Strangling Thorns are there, and it's one more hit to do it, and Duke gets the kill thanks to the King's Tribute. And you can see this now, 1,700 gold ahead, SKT with the first kill of the game.
But yeah, that is one kill for SKT while burning their teleport advantage. Poppy whacking away in the top lane tower. If Smeb can equalize, ROX isn't too unhappy with this play.
Yeah, the turret is actually quite low in the top lane. I think Duke will be able to hold it, but that means the next time he leaves, that turret would go down. Watching this one more time, they just catch Peanut on a ward, and it's again because the vision controls were able to start.
And they're just challenging it. No people want to challenge for that pixel brush. It is the first step in vision control in the river. Peanut had a really good repel though that he soaked up two ultimates, and Duke comes in swinging, but this is all for support. Two flashes burned right there.
Yeah, the timing might work out okay though. Of course, the dragon was killed not terribly long ago, so it's a reasonably long respawn at this point. You can see Duke back in the battle with Smeb. They're equal level. Smeb takes a sidestep to grab the shield, keep himself as healthy as he can, but look at the damage up that Duke can have. Of course, plenty of an 8 sustain on this Trundle. He should be pretty healthy when they fight again.
Yeah, he still doesn't have his ultimate though, so he has to be a little bit careful. I think he felt safe aggressing there because Smeb was fairly low on mana, and because he has Bengi waiting behind him. They actually are probably trying to bait a gank of some kind right now. He will be able to sustain up if he gets to stay in the lane, but he was kind of putting himself in a position where the gank would be appealing for Peanut.
And look at Faker. He pushes out mid lane, helps his support get vision in that Tribush, killing away the pink wards, then moving out again, back to mid. Push out the lane, deep vision again, rinse and repeat. Keep playing that war of attrition that Jat mentioned until somebody breaks.
Yeah, and with the mid lane turret being down, the next turret you would expect would probably be the bottom lane, since that's where SKT has devoted most of their attention this game. And there's also a small synergy we do have to mention with the Olaf. A lot of times you think it's weaker if you don't have the Karma to synergize with it, but I think Orianna is somewhat of an enabler for Olaf, especially in teamfights, to help speed him up even more and make him even more tanky.
Definitely agree, and so far it's been so good with Bengi working alongside Faker quite well. SKT have continually tried to find subs for Bengi. Last year it was Tom, this year it was Blank, and in the big important matches, Bengi still seems to show up and play very well right now. In this game, he's doing excellently against arguably the best jungler in the world in Peanut. So far, Bengi's been great, and it is still SK Telecom T1 holding a solid lead in this one, 1,800 up.
Yeah, solid lead. Let's follow how they extend that lead, how they close out the game. SKT very often praised as a team that you cannot give a lead too early. They started with vision on both sides of mid lane. They lost track of Kuro for a second though. Looking to use that spare time to equalize the turret lead here.
Yeah, this is interesting. They're going to hope to push him off the turret right here. He would have ultimate, which would make him hard to die, but with the turret gone, they don't have to worry about it. That was never meant to kill. It was a very strong roam.
And even some of the plays from Kuro, you saw him waiting in the Tribush a little bit longer. I think they might have been baiting some kind of gank defense. Maybe Bengi shows up there to defend that turret for a bit, and they say, surprise, 2-on-2, we'll kill you anyway. Looks okay.
But this is also where SKT has been devoting their attention, down the bottom lane. Bengi trying to go at Peanut, but Gorilla roams in.
And Faker's coming though. They know Faker's there somewhere. That's why they're not committing to this play. Again, action means reaction. Kuro moves top, which means SKT moving the bot side jungle. ROX and Peanut in particular are doing their damn best to keep the vision out as best as they can, because they need control of their own jungle first, because then they can move to proactive plays.
Getting rid of Bengi's Ghost is actually very important as well. And ROX are also trying their best not to get pushed in the bottom side. Note the very early QSS on Frey.
Yeah.
Because the Ash Arrow would be what SKT would try and set up a kill with. They're actually positioning Frey in front of Gorilla, meaning he would be the Ash Arrow target. If it happens, he would QSS, get sped up, and be completely safe.
Yeah, it's very interesting watching how all the plays happen as well. Even thinking about the action to reaction, the top lane gank and the bottom lane jungle control that was coming in. ROX were able to time that push while the red buff was still not being taken, but hold on, it's Gorilla. A nice flash by Wolf getting away from Peanut's cocoon. That could have been death for him. Also, Drake's would have been aggroed and Banky is on it.
But this is another play from SKT where the goal is not to kill, it is just to wound. Get them low enough on HP, get them out of the area, and hopefully force and rush an objective right here. But SKT decide to turn.
Oh, Peanut jumps in!
He's in a pretty dangerous spot, stuns up in a bang, but now being chased down by Bangy. This could be enough damage to trade one back, and they will find the ROX Tigers jungler. Now it's Duke running for a shockwave, not quite gonna land. They're missing plenty of CC, but it's still 2 kills picked up, and Duke is just too tanky. Smeb is now alone under the turret, will be running out of health, and it's Kuro to try to save the fight. Looks for Faker, does turn around 1, and Smeb will not be killed off. It's a 2 for 3. ROX finding a couple of kills to get again. Kuro nearly finds a third as well, but that turret has fallen down. It's still a positive play for SKT.
And it was looking so much better for SKT until the tail end of that fight where they overchase and give Smeb 2 kills. As Krepo was talking about, the wounds eventually accumulated into some kills. Bad repel there by Peanut.
Yeah, bad repel, he's too far up. We just see misalignment within the ROX squad. Look how far Kuro is away, because he was dealing with that mid wave that Faker had already pushed up. If SKT retreat right here, they win out so big, but Kuro, luckily for ROX, on the back end, deals so much damage.
Right there, they were caught trying to kill Smeb with the turret, and they weren't actually tracking Kuro's roam, thinking the fight was completely won because they had obliterated the first 3 so quickly. But Kuro definitely showing some strength on Victor. Nice flash to get the flashes out of Bang too.
But another play in this game that shows you the value of lane priority, which means whoever pushes first gets to make the first action, leave the lane and do something. Right now, ROX, they don't want to play the pushing game anymore. That's why they just group as 5.
And even though they're down 2,000 gold, the second Infernal is so important. Ultimate's just now coming up for SKT. We're going to see a fight.
Duke in a good position, but Gorilla caught in the front, gets okay behind the wall. Now the re-engagement of Bangy popping his ultimate, 1,800 health on the Drake, and Peanut is still tanking it. And then Smeb takes an arrow to the face with a shutdown in favor of Bang.
He's
but
got
Peanut
it!
lands the smite. So it is a loss. Oh, who warded that? Why would you? Wolf gives Peanut the escape by warding over the wall.
And Peanut had maybe 0.5 seconds to click there. He was spamming over the wall, hoping somebody for dear life would place a ward. There is an opportunity of counter Baron though. Smeb is dead. Peanut is chunked here. There is vision. Maybe they can use it as a bait.
Zyra does help take the Baron, but they got to be careful, especially if Wolf goes down.
Also gives 300 gold to Kuro.
I mean, this is such a fast-paced game. It's so hard to catch up and actually analyze everything that's happening because both these teams are reacting so well to the state of the game.
Exactly, and getting the double Infernal Drake is just enough to keep ROX in the game.
Oh, mid laners assassinating supports. What is this, 2013?
Yeah, supports are
Orianna, Ashe Zyra bottom lane. It's definitely 2013.
Korean mid laners punishing supports for overextending. Definitely 2014.
Watching this moment in time. Yeah, this was so interesting because Peanut was stuck in the Drake pit right here. So SKT actually could have just run down for Peanut, and Faker was actually hoping that ROX followed in so he could get a shockwave.
Yeah, because he was stuck behind the trap wall there. Faker was trying to zone from behind the traps. He received the ward again. Good reaction from Peanut, honestly, going for that. But Faker was kind of stuck in the zone himself. He didn't want to walk in the trap because he could get one shot right there, but he was offering offensive pressure with that ultimate at the same time.
Yeah, and you also... I understand what Wolf was thinking by warding over the wall there. He's thinking there's 4 people on ROX over there. We could maybe kill them over the wall with Orianna. Let's just see them. But it completely gave Peanut the way out.
Slow into Kuro. Root's not quite going to land. Wolf might not have been able to land that regardless of how he aimed. Bangy actually losing the Banshee's Veil, getting tagged up. And you see Kuro's already finished his Hex Core. And the W stun is even better now. It sucks them all into the middle.
But we're approaching the point of the game where the Trundle will get much farther ahead of the Puppey than he used to do historically due to the changes on Quicksilver as well. You can no longer just get rid of that Trundle ultimate, meaning if it all goes to an all-in, Puppey is destined to lose. Usually on 2 items, Puppey used to be able to hold her own, at least against Duke, but once he gets the slow, or more slows from his item build rather, he can just 1v1 all the time on the side lane.
And I really like what's happening here from ROX actually. SKT moved towards Baron to get vision control, and that gave ROX a free time to push in the mid lane. Because they have that QSS on to Prey, he's actually much more fearless in killing these turrets. He's not as strong in team fights, but if they can keep playing this long arm strategy to go up to the turrets and just poke them down, they're going to maybe swing their way back into this game.
And what's really important is what ROX Tigers have done up until the point where Duke eventually does outscale Smeb, because even if this Poppy is squishy, the utility is always there, and so the finesse of navigating the fights properly can still help ROX Tigers.
And the biggest thing we have to track in the mid game here is farm distribution, because many of these teams were playing 1-3-1 throughout the entirety of the season, and it's very easy. Your mid laner moves to a side lane eventually, your AD carry goes mid, but when you're playing with a Victor and an Orianna, both these champions like being mid in the mid game as well, which means they're contesting their AD carries for farm, or they're playing in a suboptimal lane on the top lane. That's why we see a Victor Orianna top. This is a site we haven't seen in absolute ages, and it's very delicate and much different to play. Requires good adaptation for the teams.
Exactly, especially because they're down some summoners right now, so they're kind of just waiting for the team to roam up there, and then they'd be able to turn a positive play. I actually think it was very dangerous for Faker to be up there, since he didn't actually have a turret behind him and they had very poor vision control. That's why he's pulling back right now.
And that's exactly why these champions just love the safety of the mid lane, but you can't leave an Ashe or a Caitlyn on the side lane either.
Even worse for them.
Yeah, not with a melee, without a melee support to potentially protect them. These range supports don't peel that well on the side lanes.
Yeah, I think because of that, we're much more likely to see this develop into a 4-1, where they kind of trade who gets to see the last hits, whether it's the Caitlyn or the Victor in the mid lane, or the Orianna and the Ashe, and you wait for SKT to have Duke pushing down the bottom side. I think the reason ROX is sending Victor up there is because they know SKT wins the 4-1. So even though they have a composition that would normally be doing it, since they lose that 1-1, they're going to try and make it the 1-3-1 we were talking about.
And the precursor to a 4-1 is always, you got to fix your side lanes. It's important that you still respect that lane. You don't play on it endlessly, but you leave whenever you can. But these teams are so good at not getting caught in the mid game that they're just basically trading lanes in the top lane. It's one of the few lanes where you want to be catching instead of pushing right now. Look at Kuro. He wants to receive this as close to his turret as he can, because he can get picked out. So at this stage of the game, it's honestly important to track the wards and the teleports. Both Smeb and Duke can suddenly surprise the opposing team if one deep ward gets snuck into the jungle.
Absolutely. The ganking from Smeb and Peanut is huge in Fog of War, whereas SKT wants to try and land an Ashe Arrow for a pick, because the pick at this point either gives you Baron or that third Infernal Drake that's about to spawn.
That could be a very important thing to watch for. It's only 1 minute away, but Krepa, you mentioned the ward control and playing for that as well as the waves. Well, look at what's happening. SKT pushing in mid first, easily pushing in bottom first as well. So this bottom jungle's lit up red pretty easily, and the top river's also mostly SKT controlled. So in all these fronts, SKT are ahead on the play.
Yeah, it's because they're leaning both on their draft, which got them the favorable side lane, but also on the early game, which got them the gold lead and the control of the game here. That's why it's going to be so hard for ROX to fight their way out. The fact that they managed to get both those Infernals is honestly a feat of strength here, and this is why we can't underestimate ROX. Any other team, I'd say, you know what, SKT is probably going to choke out eventually. But ROX Tigers have shown that they don't care.
Exactly. It's been quite remarkable, because SKT has had the pushing lanes for a lot of this game. Getting Faker's flash this early when he's running extremely low magic resist against Kuro means the teamfight's going to be very hard for Faker to enter. And I definitely think we're seeing a teamfight around this third Infernal Drake if SKT decides to go for it. If not, that's ridiculous. 24% attack damage and ability power is almost a win.
A lot of stats. Victor and Caitlyn definitely want the extra ability power and attack damage. Those are the two primary carries of the squad. And it's Gorilla getting caught out with a chain of crowd control. And Wolf deserves the last hit for setting up that play with the grasping roots. Meanwhile, Duke's split pushing finally does pay off. SKT the first to get all 3 outer turrets. And in a 5v4 potential, could be very easy to get more.
But it is just a support, and the opposing support has used his ultimate, which kind of renders him useless anyways. So in that sense, it's not the worst for ROX, but their priority on Dragon is costing on the top side of the map. SKT used the Dragon as a lure, a bait to move Duke to the top lane. He gets not only one, but almost 2 towers while SKT start Baron.
All the vision control is on the bottom side for ROX. They now see the Baron, but it's too late. They will get the third Infernal, but SKT gets the Baron.
The very important Baron to grab. SKT, I think, making the exact right play on the backswing of that catch on the mid lane. ROX maybe got the best they could have hoped for in the 5v4 that's laid on, but either way, at least a Drake isn't the worst.
This is actually extremely interesting, because you can only get 3 Infernal Drakes in a game, so there is no way SKT is getting one of those for the late game. That means that with this Baron buff, they have to make this an important Baron power play because of the raw stats ROX is going to have in the late game.
But they believe, because this wasn't an accident, this wasn't just a haphazard Baron, this was planned, it was a bait and switch. ROX was leaning so much towards the side of the Dragon that SKT peeled away their laner from the bottom lane. They put Duke top, he took 1 tower, pressured the second, and then SKT just swept in and took a free Nasher. Just in that microcosm, sorry, Freak right there.
No, it's okay.
The 8% bonus versus the Baron buff is definitely worth it.
The Baron buff is absolutely better. These minions are going to be huge. And look at the power spikes they've got. Bang is on 80% crit chance. Faker's got a death cap and a void staff. The two major carries here, the mid lane and AD carry for SKT, are super huge right now. Plus Baron pushing, they can get so much.
I agree that they can make good use of this, but it is actually very out of character for SKT to put themselves on a clock, because they now have to make use of this Baron buff. They can't be as reactive as they would want to be. Yes, they have the item power spikes, but we're about to see SKT go for something big.
It was both a decision and a reaction because they already gave away 2 Infernals in a sense. But looking at what this Baron buff does for them, they can finally commit to this 4-1 style because the minions will stay alive long enough so that ROX can't instantly wave clear them. Victor, fantastic at wave clearing versus non-Baron buff creeps. Right now, the siege can continue. Look at the pressure.
And let's not forget that SKT are sitting on a solid 7,000 gold at this point. They had been routinely out-farming, out-killing turrets. Of course, the Baron and the 2 subsequent turrets help as well. No surprise here, but it's SKT. Even once this all times out, Elder Dragons are nice, but 7,000 gold is better than 3 Elder Dragons. When this all does reset, SKT looking great right now, looking to siege top lane inhibitor.
Yeah, ROX, though, has pretty solid wave clear with the Hurricane, Caitlyn, and the Victor, so until Duke gets some super minions on other turrets, they're not going to be able to break that inhibitor wall. They will seem like they're going to be able to get up to 6 turrets to 2, though.
Looking pretty easy. I don't want to say easy, but looking pretty controlled for SKT right now. Duke, though, does catch a stun, but is there much else that ROX can do? Duke turns back around to fight Smeb because the rest of SKT is still just pressuring. That mid lane turret is so low, and here's the attack from top.
Yeah, Bang just whittling away at the turret here next to the traps. Watch him go into fog of war every time and threaten with the arrow as well. At every single moment, ROX Tigers have to be careful. Just an enchantment crystal arrow flying across the map.
That's going to be at the 6th turret. So 3 turrets taken with the Baron. The gold lead now, almost 9,000 this one. Also, 30 seconds still on the reset, plus whatever either Bangi or Faker has with the extended duration afterwards to get another full minion wave of Baron buff.
Yeah, specifically, we can track this Baron power play now. 4,300 gold, as well as the map pressure of the turrets, is the cost that SKT paid to essentially concede the 3rd Infernal Drake, because they, with the support kill and the pushing top lane, I think could have powered their way into an Infernal Drake, but then would have had to delay the Baron. I'm not necessarily willing to say it's the best call unless they can close this game out, because that could very well backfire if ROX can hold with Victor and Caitlyn.
But I think they made the decision calculating in the fact that they had already made a few mistakes in giving up the first 2 Infernals. Essentially, they were already on a clock in terms of late game scaling. So they wanted to power through and accelerate the game, which meant usually you need 2 dragons, or 2 barons rather, to close out the game. Getting the first one early, having a gold lead that's large enough to keep control of the map so you can set up perfectly for the second one is likely what SKT wants to do. The second this one fades, it's about 3.5 minutes until the next Baron spawns. You're going to see SKT keep leaning to the left side of the map, get a couple pink wards in river, deep ward in the enemy blue buff jungle, and then defend that the entire time. Because look at how hard it is for ROX Tigers to actually face check forward with their comp.
Yeah, exactly. That's also because SKT is running a pick composition with Desire and the Ashe. So even if ROX has a triple Infernal Drake in a super late game situation, if SKT can maintain map control, I think they try and avoid fighting clean 5v5s and only get picked. Because with triple Infernal Drake, you don't want to face a team straight up 5v5, but they will have the gold lead regardless.
They're going to have the slow on a Smeb who tackles in towards Bangi, but is now running out of life rapidly down below 1,000. The knockup is there, and the final blow comes through. Bangi gets the kill. Yet the pick comes through. They didn't even need Ashe for it. It's up to Kuro playing a bit of wave clear, and looks like all is well. And SKT almost 10k ahead now.
And SKT's happy. They can keep the map tiny. They can play the game on 2 lanes, making it very easy to play 4-1. Keep the vision in between. Choke out ROX. You don't need sweepers if you have time. If they don't put a ward there for 3 minutes, you can just keep choking out the vision. Meanwhile, you challenge the base. You don't have to, but it's an added bonus here for making that pick for SKT.
To try to make this next one in 20 seconds on Smeb. Nice QSS spray gets out, and Bangi eats a cupcake, losing half his life, but SKT are okay to keep playing this a little bit longer. But as the minion wave goes out, they say, you know what, it might be time to reset. 35 seconds in the Drake spawn. Like to see SKT heal before they go for it.
Yeah, and also note how ROX Tigers need to really work if they want to get an initiation. It basically has to be Smeb flanking in with a good teleport ward. or Peanut landing a Miracle Cocoon on someone who can't break the CC. So SKT is in a good position here because they are better than any other team at controlling the fights that they take. And compositionally, they're set up to do that as well.
And ROX is in such a tricky position because they don't really want to move to that bot lane. They don't want to push it out far enough to add pressure. Any wave they push will bounce on that tier 1 turret. If they send Smeb to the bot lane, the remaining 4 members are so easily picked off, you know, by those champions that you guys mentioned earlier, you know, just an Ash Arrow on a non-QSS target. I think that's going to be a pick, but look at here. They're moving into the enemy jungle here. Might be able to surprise Kuro, but he at least has some wards.
Yeah, ROX at least gets to realize that those wards are dying, so they're aware there's someone of the sweeper running through their bottom jungle rampantly. ROX should be smart enough to know, okay, this is all warded, they've taken control of this, and I think ROX should have to cede at least that territory. Maybe they come down through the river, but they're fighting, okay, 3 Infernal Breaks versus a 9,000 gold lead, and it's SKT saying, we own this territory, and ROX don't even bother trying. They're playing for topside wards instead.
Yeah, SKT with another little bit of a bait and switch. They yielded the Baron area, give the vision up to get a free dragon. I don't think they value the dragon itself so much, but they don't want to give a potential of a 4 Dragon Elder to the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, and also the three Infernal Drakes will give ROX an advantage when they hit 6 items, because that pushes them over the item cap. For now, when you're talking about the items that SKT has versus the items and the Infernal Drake multiplier, you can still say SKT is winning because of the raw gold and power they have right now.
Provided, as you said, it does not go 6 items. If this does stall out, ROX catch up and then Eclipse, but that is still 15, 20 minutes away, and it is a soft clock, but it's one that I think SKT can punch through soon enough. You've got Bang with just the best items basically you could possibly get. He's probably about 40% more DPS than Prey if he just sit there getting.
And they're starting Asher.
And it's ROX hoping for a miracle play. Look at what a rush on Baron. SKT are pretty far. You will have Duke coming in from the flank, but there's no steal in range. The arrow lands, and it's secure by Peanut. Now the 5-on-5. Ziggy comes in, down to half HP, and it's going to be Duke kicked right back out. And ROX get away clean with the Baron.
ROX is so smart as a team. SKT was so confident of their vision control, they lost track of Baron for a second. ROX immediately punish.
And when you get the Baron as a team that is behind, you usually freeze the game, which is exactly what ROX want to do right now. Ridiculous that SKT had the gap in vision at Baron, recalled, and ROX knew exactly when to rush.
You could see how much it means for the game that Faker is camping in a brush, looking for a random pickoff, building or relying on the overconfidence of ROX, but ROX is playing so clean. And again, this is back going to their roots. Historically, what was their major strength at the time? It was going back in a game where they was initially a little bit behind and then fighting their way out with super clean macro. It was only this year that they become a super strong early game proactive team, but they definitely have that history left in them.
Sure, 80% of that lineup is still that same late game team. All that sort of elder experience is there. It all came from the Cloud Drake that SKT took. ROX said, we're not going to fight you. We're going to play top lane river control, top jungle control. We're going to get the wards. And as soon as SKT resets, they say, but we have ward control. And ROX execute so beautifully. They had a 20-second window, and they went right through it. Now it's ROX Tiger saying, what gold can we get back? There's still an outer turret to take in the bottom lane, but they're saying, no, it's top jungle that we want. Red buff is spawning. Can they fight for it as Bengi aggroes it?
And late game, it's all about dodging damage in these team fights. The one weakness to Orianna is the fact that her ulti is flashable. So Faker will have a much harder time dealing continuous damage in these fights compared to Kuro, who can definitely surprise people with a quick ultimate.
And especially with the pace of this game right now, only being 5 kills to 8, the frequency of the big team fights is low, which makes the flashes be off cooldown when a fight does happen. So it makes ROX, it gives them the ability to outplay and potentially still win this game.
Definitely want to go back to that point that was mentioned earlier about the early QSS of Prey. It really has shaped ROX to play a much different way, with Prey honestly playing borderline confident. No QSS on Smeb though, but he can just dodge it.
Bang actually lodges it, and it's Bang running out of health, but now look at that. It's just too much damage to deal with. Smeb's trying to run away with his life, and he will do so. I think actually it was Duke's Pillar that might have gotten him away from the Enchanted Crystal there, but with two members up top lane, it's a great repel out from Peanut, and that's going to be a turret going down. Bangy, then a half HP, and Wolf got slowed by the Chaos Storm, which means a flash out of the SKT support.
And who needs flash the Shockwave when you can just repel it if you're Peanut? That was a really great play. It means SKT has less threat to push them off turret. They burn the Trundle ultimate and the Ash Arrow, so ROX can push with impunity for the next few seconds.
Get a little bit more out of it. That bottom lane wave is there. It will go down with no champions nearby. The local gold goes to waste, but they can still just try to group back up on bot lane tier 2. Hey, how convenient. The blue buff spawned as well. Let's take that away from Faker. Kuro is running out of mana. He's going to be full enough by the time the teamfight comes around.
And what a game. We saw initial 2 plays fumbled by ROX Tigers. They made their way back in. They got an Infernal Dragon. SKT took control again, had a good river fight. ROX took another Infernal Dragon. SKT made a great play, getting Baron. Well, ROX took another Infernal Dragon, and suddenly, at the end, turned it all upside down with that genius Baron call. What a game.
Exactly, which is also why I was saying it is out of character for SKT to put themselves on a clock right that. Even though it did put them in a position where they could make the plays to win the game, if ROX makes a play, suddenly they would have the advantage. Smeb tried to teleport in.
They're not quite going to get much for it. The home guard was there, could tackle a minion to get a bit closer, but couldn't quite find his target. But the funny thing is, it was SKT getting a Baron for an Infernal Drake. ROX got Baron for a Cloud Drake. Everyone outside North America, you never make that trade. Who gets Cloud Drakes? And that's the world we live in now. And we mentioned, if the gold gets closer, ROX outscales with the Infernals, where that's starting to happen. The gold only 6k apart, and that's actually manageable at this point. Frey finally got 80% crit. He's basically online as far as Caitlyn goes. In fact, item for item, he's currently tied with Bang until Bang actually completes the Quicksilver Sash into Mercurial Scimitar, and mid laners are close too.
Now, both these teams are honestly getting into super late game mode, and their compositions get rewarded for kiting as well. Ashe, Zyra, Orianna, they all want to run backwards, just like Duke has to kind of run away. But look at it, bottom right there, there's Smeb flanking, so it might be a flash force here on Duke.
Gets a slow, gets a little bit done, but now it's going to be maybe part of a re-engage, because look at this mid lane. It's SKT saying, you went top, we're going to go mid in there first.
Yeah, they know how long it takes to kill Duke, and they do not want to open up their inhibitors to a team that can split push and pick the way SKT can.
Elder spawning, but instead of going for the Elder, SKT are going for the fake out, and they're running bot here. ROX Tigers expected this to be just Faker, but as they move towards the bottom lane, they may get surprised here by a pickoff.
They have to go the safe route.
Yeah, Prey knows to not walk too far into the brush. Bengi actually walked forward a little bit here, and you can see that still. The turret's picked up, and Kuro clutch gets the flash away just in time. A quick Roots coming in there as well, stopping down Prey and Gorilla. They don't find much.
Going for it.
There's a stun. There's a knockdown on a Wolf, and they're going to knock down him before he can do much of anything. So it's a 1-for-0 in favor of ROX Tigers. Bengi's ulti is down as well. There's no more chase to be had. But look at SKT always playing the map a little bit smarter. That top lane inhib turret will be going down, making that score 8-5 in turrets. Any good team fight now at this point in the game, SKT can outright kill the base. And it's a risk now that ROX has to play with for the rest of this game.
I love the way these teams are influencing themselves, or each other rather, with these little map moves. It looked for a second that SKT was going for that Elder Dragon, set up the objective, defend the area, because their composition so strong if you have to walk into them. Suddenly they just move down bottom and get a turret, go for a pick. They force the flash on Kuro. ROX react, but they lose their top lane tower. SKT is playing the map on so many places at once. ROX, they find strength in numbers. They want to strike together. Surprise with a good engage.
Duke is a monstrous split pusher. They now have inhibitors open. The game is truly on a knife's edge because of the duration of death timers 42 minutes in, the power of the buffs that are about to spawn with the Elder Drake being alive and with Baron in 34 seconds. Anything could break this game wide open, especially if SKT group up and ROX can find a fight.
Yeah, the support's coming. Karma just not there yet. Only thing that matters right now is this Elder Dragon. SKT looking to rush it down, using the zone from Wolf. Look for him.
It has stolen so many objectives this world.
They're trying to keep out. Repel gets away from the stun. He goes in for it, and it's secured by Bengi. That is a big deal. SKT, Shockwave, a shutdown. They've got 3 already. They're looking to kill absolutely everybody. ROX Tigers getting wiped off the face of the map. Smeb the only one alive.
SKT burns Kuro's flash in a previous fight. Faker gets him the next time. Bengi is clutch with the smite in the jungle, and that's most likely the game for SKT.
Yeah, ROX get lured into the trap. They tunnel so hard into the objective that they forget that they're running into an Orianna treadle path. Once near the pillar, it was the perfect ultimate from Faker, and that's it for SKT. They get the kill, they get the objective, and they run down the mid lane.
And poor Smeb can't do anything. The recall is stopped. SK Telecom T1 are a third of the way there as they take game 1 over ROX Tigers, looking to make it to the finals.
And what a way to start this series. A very back and forth game. interesting trades. A triple Infernal Drake team loses the game because SKT was maneuvering them around the map, making them late to fights time and time again. And finally, after so many Mr. Flash shockwaves, Faker lands one and the game is over.
And it was really beautiful. So many clutch points where the right decision had to be made. And that's not always the case that it was. I think there were some trades opted into that maybe could have been chosen differently. But either way, we had an amazing game, 42.5 minutes in length, where you had ROX Tigers fighting through a gold deficit almost the entire time. From the laning phase, Bangi was always half SKT's gold lead by getting all the farm that Peanut wasn't getting because Peanut's ganks weren't landing. You had just general laning phase leads from Faker. He was up 20 about 10 minutes in, knocked down the first turret as well, practically solo. And this was this slow, methodical control. SKT kept getting farther and farther ahead. ROX were tacking on some objectives, and they had the one good comeback, but this was SKT, in a way, playing many of the elements of their game, saying we're going to stay in control the whole time, and largely they were.
Yeah, but we have to question Peanut's early jungle pathing. They're going for an early gank bot lane when River is usually warded, whether you're Elise or not. Then the second phase where they all three went mid failed as well. This is ROX Tigers looking very jittery on stage. Maybe the game one warm-up combined with the fact that they had mini comebacks within the game will make for a much better early game for them in game two. I can easily see them sweeping the early game and taking the tie, honestly.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be an incredibly close series. That was only game one of maybe up to 5. It's going to be beautiful. Stick with it. But for now, let's toss it down to the analysts to break that one a little bit more. SKT get choice aside for game 2. Of course, they have chosen blue. I think every team has so far this tournament. And we have the 2 mid lane bans we expect to see probably this entire series.
Yeah, let's get quick explanations for every ban. Aurelion Sol, it's against Kuro. Faker doesn't really play it himself. Syndra, top tier pick. If you can first pick it, do it because it gives you so much pressure.
Exactly, and then you have the Syndra Ryze bans obviously coming in against Faker. Yet to play Ryze at the tournament is Faker, but it is Faker's Ryze. You know you need to be able to ban it. He's been practicing it so much. Unreal win rate in solo queue. And ROX is obviously fearful of giving Faker a champion that can take over the game.
Yeah, and then we'll look at the Jace, strong top laner pick, especially in the hands of carries. Maybe SKT don't want to sacrifice the first pick here and hand it over to Smep. Smep expected to kind of pick up the cannon, or maybe even later on the Rumble, but he went for Poppy last game.
And Nidalee actually does get banned away. I found this point actually quite interesting. In the regular summer split for SKT, they banned the Nidalee themselves in 76% of their games. Blank has not been the most Nidalee affectionate sort of jungler here. And ROX is actually one of the teams that have left Nidalee up this tournament, actually. They've left it unbanned in 3 of their games throughout the group stage. Either way, it goes away. Olaf is the first pick. SKT still trying to knock down the jungle pool a bit, and the Ashe comes back in for Prey.
And this is fascinating that it's actually ROX that is picking the Ashe, because it was Bang who did it in the last game, and it's with Caitlyn still available. Prey has always been a spectacular Ashe player, and maybe he saw something in the last game that makes him now want the champion into the Caitlyn matchup.
And another surprise is that Zyra is left open in favor of the Karma. Technically a flex, but very likely to go into that bottom lane. It's really fun how this story came to unfold. Ashe got revealed in game 1. We see the preemptive Jhin ban from SKT, basically daring ROX to pick another Caitlyn early. And ROX Tigers say, you know what, we'll pick Ashe, and I think it does fine in every single matchup, including the Caitlyn. You will have to pick here.
And we get the pick set up there, and you can see, it is. Again, I do want to point out how interesting this is. It's ROX saying, you showed us what you thought was so good. We just don't really seem to care. We'll just change a couple of things. It was the Ashe was the problem, not the Zyra here, as they locked in their entire bot lane unless they flex this Karma mid. Yeah,
and they don't have to pick the Caitlyn into it, as you can see with the Ezreal being picked right here. Bang's Ezreal is exceptional, especially when he goes Iceborne Gauntlet. He can often act as an initiator for this team, and they're going to have a lot of little pokey initiates with the Olaf and the Zyra right here.
But it already means one checkbox ticked for ROX Tigers in terms of pushing lanes. And that's what you want in League of Legends, especially when you want to enable a jungle like Peanut. Get some pressure in at least 2 lanes. If they're adjacent, even better than have the push going. ROX also has the counter pick in mid lane, but again, mid lane champion pool is so pinched that it's going to be hard for Kuro to find an answer to Faker.
And that's the question. Which lane do they save for last? It's going to be mid lane they save for last. Rumble going to be grabbed up here. It lets that Karma stay as a flex. Lee Sin in here for Peanut could be a pleasure to watch. And a Rumble for Smep can take over a game.
Yeah, opting for the Lee Sin instead of the Elise, so a little bit lower on the crowd control because they have the Ashe. It's also what Peanut played 3 games in a row in the quarterfinals to much success.
Definitely, but also a bigger investment in the early game, because one thing Lee Sin can do is leave open that blue buff, which means if you have a very tippy mid lane matchup, an early blue buff handoff towards Kuro could swing the tides in his favor with a Rumble who almost guarantees top lane push 1 to 5. A blue buff handoff very early, ROX could be looking at 3 pushing lanes.
And I love the way the pick and bans have been evolving throughout this tournament. We've seen a lot of even first pick Kennons. It completely falls through the draft phase here, most likely. We've seen Echo do actually quite well against Rumble once he can get to Spectre's Cow.
Yep.
But when we're talking about who has
That's
the pushing lanes, they actually have done
an insta-locked misfortune.
something really weird. I don't care about my last point.
This is an insta-locked misfortune.
Support MF.
I don't know.
Yes, it is support MF. Support MF is super strong in poke. I wonder if it's AP MF.
Or is it support Ashe?
No.
You've seen both of them played in the past. So,
20
support
seconds.
MF was a huge thing before they obliterated the damage on Max E, because that was the
It has to be support MF. Support Ashe sucks.
And support MF is great, right?
That surprisingly works. I wonder if he's spell
20
thief.
seconds past support MF.
It is support MF.
Karma mid.
Karma mid. This means 3 pushing lanes, absolute power, early game power spike. Imagine a dragon fight with MF ulti on your support and then a Rumble equalizer. This is so fascinating.
I can't wait to watch Gorilla support MF. They must have been saving this pick forever. And when we talk about pushing lanes, we went back and tried to do a rough guess of how much pushing lanes would lead to victory. We got a roughly 39 out of the 61 games where pushing lanes won the game. And that was with 2 out of 3. Here they have very clearly 3 pushing lanes. If they execute in the early game, they can take so much control.
I'm just still shocked by the fact that support misfortune is being played in the semifinals of the World Championship. I don't care if someone tells you to pick a meta game champion. When you're Gorilla and you're fighting for your tournament life here against SK Telecom T1 and you say, hey, it's time to play support misfortune, you tell your kids about this one. Get on Twitter, tell us your favorite moments. Mine is support misfortune already, but tell us hashtag world's big plays what yours has been so far. Here we go, game 2 of the semifinals, support misfortune.
Yeah, with Ignite as well. I definitely want
Grepo and
to...
I are so happy right now, but we're also desperately trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen. The Spell Feast is very easy to proc with the Make It Rain, obviously. You get incredibly early shove when you go E on the Misfortune and Volley on the Ashe.
So there's a couple of things that speak in favor of a misfortune. The passive works very well because obviously once you switch targets, you get added damage for a single tap. You can get that tap off by E-ing first. You get the Spell Thief proc right there. That's all 3 Spell Thief procs already, plus 24 gold. More importantly, specifically in the Zyra matchup, she spawns a lot of plants, which puts her at risk of actually getting double up by her own plants. Because very often she hides right behind them. It is minor, it's only base damage. This is a very early spike, and more importantly, once you hit 6, Wolf
And look
has
at this, wow, forcing an early flash out of Wolf with the chain slows.
Once you hit 6, it is so easy to get blown up. It takes 1 arrow into a Misfortune ultimate plus Ignite, and you're just dead.
Yeah, not to mention you can layer the Make It Rain on top of the Ashe arrow to give longer time caught into the damage over time. So a lot of things could work, but we also haven't seen it because it can be very vulnerable when you're running essentially a double marksman bottom.
And then there's one more interaction, then I'm done ranting. When Zyra opens up on a snare on Misfortune, she can actually answer with the ultimate, because by the time the Zyra ultimate pops up from the floor, bullet time's already done. It's about the same second, it's about 1.5 or 2 seconds channel, which means you can actually just blast Zyra in the face whenever she goes for you.
3 seconds long is bullet time. Stranglethorns takes plenty of time, even after the cast animation. You'll get a lot of damage out. Gorilla running ability power quints for more Make It Rain damage. It scales off AP.
Yeah, already
see ROX pushing.
Regardless of what support was going to be in this lane, they would yield the push. This is not a surprise. We need to look at Peanut. What is he going to do with this early information? And was he spotted out by a ward early on? Doesn't seem like it, even though SKT had quite a few members there in the river.
Yeah, and Blank did a blue buff start, skipping Romp to very quickly go to his red buff because he doesn't want to get killed at his buff by Peanut. Peanut would have to take a very peculiar route to be able to get to him at this point. So at least very early in the game, Blank is able to get his clear.
Yeah, both junglers got a leash. So
nice hawk shot, they just found him at red.
Yeah, because they knew he had a leash on top side too. This is totally expected here. SKT likely have a great idea of where Peanut is on the map as well.
Yeah, and Kreppel, you and I also talked about how much these teams can do with a deep ward early. One of the benefits of this Ashe pick is you get a very quick look of a ward deep in their jungle when you send Hawkshot through, and now that they saw Blank there, they can infer so much information about the rest of the game.
Yeah, double up Blank, look at it. Faker, or Kuro rather, has to lean to the left side in mid.
Ghost burn by Blank.
X.
Lands a slow. How much more can they get? An empowered W to heal him back up. Kuro's okay, but Faker lands a bunch of damage. Nicely traded in by SKT's mid lane.
And we saw Duke in the top lane as well immediately push out because he knows the Olaf path to the bot lane and he can't walk up unless he shows up. Right now we have Peanut going for the reactionary top lane camp. No more camping around bot lane passive 2v2s with range supports. Peanut is setting up for the counter gank on top lane.
Not to mention, Blank learned his Ghost in the mid lane, so if this counter gank does arrive, there's no escape for Blank if they turn on him.
2 versus 2. How far do they go in? And it's going to be for Duke first. Look at the damage onto him. Nothing to do at all. And he's going to land the Sonic Wave for a quick punch in the back of the head.
The audacity of Blank to get a gank off mid and then run straight up top without knowing where the enemy jungle is, that is a major mistake you do not make against a team like the ROX Tigers.
And you have to blame both Duke and Blank for that one, because if it was going to be a 2v2, they were going to straight up lose it. That's now 29 CS to 10 in the top lane.
Smeb acting beautifully. Should be on Broadway.
Yeah, right into the brush. Makes it super easy. Duke chases all the way in blind. You can't do that at this level.
And again, this is the power of information. They spotted Olaf on the red buff early. He knew he spotted out. Both these teams know they cannot gank double range support bot lanes. It just doesn't work in League. So the only reaction for Blank left was a gank mid. It was great. But then instead of farming more, he ran to the top lane, Peanut lane waiting, and honestly, this is a mistake from Blank. Don't go for those plays.
Yeah, not to mention they can now give the early blue buff over to Kuro. He hadn't necessarily been pushing Faker in early because Blank made the visit with Ghost, but when he gets this blue buff, goes back to base, this will be the 3 pushing lanes we talked about, and it allows Peanut complete freedom to try and go and make plays.
This feels like the perfect ROX Tigers early game. Smeb's on a carry. He's ahead. Peanut's ganks worked out. Kuro's fine in the mid lane, gets a blue buff, but now it's turning a little bit sour. He has to flash away from Blank. That upsets what was looking almost perfect before. Still a lot of winning elements here for ROX Tigers.
Yeah, Kuro was waiting on the right recall timing. I would have liked to see him go back a little earlier, get a little bit more immediate power and punish with that blue buff, but now he's a little bit delayed in his power.
But it's okay in a sense. You can lose your flash when your jungler supplements your lane with vision. You can lean to one side, lean towards Peanut, and save your shield. And that's the only lane he can gank here. Smeb is relatively safe. Kuro no flash. Look at Peanut. He's protected by Kuro, and Kuro protected by Peanut himself because there's push in the bottom lane as well. If this is Scuffle, Gorilla on his support AP Misfortune will arrive much sooner than his counterpart. And that's the power of these pushing lanes.
And look at that, Peanut. He already took the Raptors away. He's taking the Krugs out as well. But now it's the flash engage. Faker wants the blue buff back, and Kuro stayed mid for far too long. But now it's Peanut maybe staying too long. The root is perfect by Wolf, and it's now turned around. And SKT pick up 2 kills.
And it is so hard to punish SKT, but that is also total disaster thus far.
Smeb,
ROX is trying to make it up. They have double TP. Kuro could come as soon as he responds as well.
Gorilla's a bit low. They got the slow on the Wolf, and there's the equalizer. Flash, heal used as well, but he's got the harpoons. He's got the kill, and Wolf is hunted for his skin. Bang now under the turret, and Smeb really wants this one. Puts the fire to the backside, and that's a kill for Prey. Now Smeb, how does he get out? Prey's gonna die to the turret. He's dead. Oh my gosh. I guess they live.
For now.
Oh, Blank is coming. One Olaf, a single
he can't run in by himself.
Let's go.
He's
Be a man. Get him, Blank.
Kuro says no.
That play is successful with the kills, but it takes so long. Look at the lanes for SKT. They're pushing back. Watching this one more time. Double TP, trying to get in on them. He lands the harpoon post-flash, which makes sure that he's able to secure that kill. Then they just look to speed themselves in because the Karmat back at the turret gives the rest of the team some speed, and they just go straight into the second-tier turret and get him out too. Look at this.
This is
teamwork.
Honestly, this is good communication. To pull that off on world stage, to go for that bounty of a play instead of just letting him die. Because imagine if you fumble that play. That's such a big mental hit right now. And they didn't lose that much because they pushed up their lanes adequately before.
Would you actually trade? I guess you'd trade those 2 summoners for a kill? It feels weird.
You just want to get him back in base ASAP, have him back on the road. Really don't want him to die right there. Don't give more power to the bot lane. They're starved as well. This is a 40 CS tier Ezreal, 20 CS down, no summoners. If you visit him one more time, he's dead again. You just really don't want to give him any kills.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before he can actually get to some powerful items, and the teleport cooldowns really aren't that long in that context. You can already see Curl and Smith have the ability to make a double TP play. They're always going to have that lane shoved. They're hoping to get deep vision within the red jungle of SKT, and I absolutely think that's their game plan, is to try and dive that lane over and over.
And the pain point is about to happen. Once Prey and Gorilla, look, they're parking this lane right here. They're done pushing. They want to hit level 6 and then have the zoning threat of a Misfortune bullet time after that E. Because you E on Misfortune, you slow him down. It's the easiest arrow of your life to hit. And then, like, Prey doesn't even need that. Like, he can hit any arrow anyways, and then you just follow up with your ultimate combos and they're dead.
And keep in mind, as you mentioned, trying to tower dive champion, there's now a TP advantage for SKT. Duke has it, Smeb does not. Curl cannot match either. His teleport is down, so SKT can pile drive bot lane, generally speaking, easier, assuming all else stays equal. And it's something that ROX should have to play around.
And I love the emphasis Peanut is putting on these Scuttle Crabs here. Safe ward over the wall. Look at it, he doesn't face check to get the optimal ward over in that little brush right there. Safety and face check super important. He gets the Scuttle Crab for his bot lane, which means they can play safe and play aggressive.
Ash arrow.
Arrows land on the Wolf, and it's just going to be too much damage, too fast. Teleports be damned. Who cares? A 2-on-2 kill for the ROX bottom lane.
How do you beat Zyra? Poke! You outrange it. Blast the Misfortune, make it rain, arrow in her face, she can't escape. There is nothing Wolf can do because the summoners got blown earlier in that double TP trade.
And specifically, they held the lane on their side, so by the time they hit level 6, they would have access to SKT. Beautiful play by that ROX duo lane.
Yeah, it's true. Chipping rather the turret down afterwards, flank goes in.
Gotta be real careful.
He walked in to grab a Q. I guess he's all right with this one. There is not that much threat. Spina had his ulti after all.
And they play it beautifully. They amass the wave on their side, let it stack up, and then they use that massive minion wave as they go for an aggressive play. If it works, they poke them out of lane and they get free chip damage anyways on the turret. This is very coordinated ROX Tigers.
We also have to point out that they're running a support MF, a mid lane Karma, and a top lane Rumble. They don't have the insane late game scaling. This is the type of aggressive play they're going to have to continue to make, and they can't have those mini plays where Peanut gets caught in the jungle or Faker gets a solo kill onto Curl. Those things can't happen if they want to snowball this game.
Yeah, that's why you see those 2 teleports in the bot lane. They want to get that tier 1 tower down ASAP so they can unlock the Infernal Dragon. They want to keep taking these breaks here. That's how you, in the current meta, can draft an early game team with no real late game is you just stack objectives. You get 3 dragons and a baron, and then you beat whatever power disparity there is in gold or in scaling.
Yeah, and how many Infernal Drakes are we going to see in this series? This is now 4 out of 5 dragon spawns have been Infernal.
It feels a little scripted.
We knew this was going to be a fiery matchup. Peanut, Papa Smith, he's talking about him spitting fire before this game.
He was alluding to it. We wrote him that line. That's how it works. And the cutie pie was right all along. Prey's going to crit next attack.
Bang right now, 68 CS. He is down over 30 right now in this matchup, and he is constantly afraid, and he can't actually go QSS early in this matchup. We saw it in the previous one with the Caitlyn. Ezreal already has a build layer in the tier built in, so he can't go for an early QSS. So the next arrow from Prey is going to be a potential threat or a flash burner.
Yeah, and the kill distribution for ROX is also super ideal. Having 2 kills onto Prey already. When we talk about them not having spectacular scaling from the mid lane and jungle position, Ashe with the mid lane Karma can actually be a very strong late game hyper carry, and he's well on his way, not only with the 2 kills, but also because Bang's build is so delayed, and the ability for SKT to deny farm on Prey is extremely low.
Yeah. We have to switch the narrative a little bit though and look at SKT as well. How did they get back here? They have some things going for them. Duke is hitting the breaking point of this matchup. When he gets Merc threats in addition to that Spectre's Cowl, he will actually start out-trading Smeb.
He's doing it right now.
Peanut's Blank's actually coming up here to try and get a dive, maybe.
And it could be the turning point. Smeb has teleported. He needs to use a teleport on the map in a 2v1 or 1v1. He is losing.
Has flash, has ulti, decides to ult the wave and say it's only Blank who can chase him, but that's still a ghostable Olaf, and that requires the flash out of this one. Not much turret damage going to be had because of the ulti. So does the best he can.
Another pain point for ROX Tigers is Faker in his mid lane. He is towering up in CS as well. That's exactly why Peanut is pressuring. This tier 1 tower is so important to take down.
Ooh, splits the uprights. No kill to be had, but it does mean a lot of pressure on this turret. Peanut's going to stay there for a bit more damage, but Prey actually switches back to hitting minions. They will need at least one more wave. The question is, how good is Bang and Wolf's wave clear? They burn Stranglethorns on it, and he is going to do that to try to buy a little bit more time. Ooh, and here's the flash engage. Peanut flashes to land the Q, and now it's Wolf on the wrong side. He's spacing out, so he can land the kick if he needs to. That's all the damage they need. Wolf goes down. He saves his summoner spells, and it's also the first turn of the game going to ROX Tigers. That is a 3,500 gold lead, short up slightly by top lane going down. SKT finding some movements back in, but it's ROX ahead a lot.
And it adds to their game plan. They're going to keep the 5 people down here, trying to get as much power right here as possible, then transition that squad to different lanes after they can secure the second tier turret. However, they are losing turrets on the rest of the map as well. Top lane is gone. Faker well on his way to chipping down that mid lane turret.
And total turret damage gain that actually might be in favor of SKT. The question is which breakpoints are landed, because first turret is obviously a whole bunch of extra gold. It was also a completely finished second turret on the bottom lane as well, so it is an immediate influx of gold, but Faker will answer back mid lane outer, so really the only major difference is the fact that the first turret gold itself and that kill was handed over. It still cost him at his teleport, and it still cost all of that farm in the top lane that he did not get his Duke pushed in.
But there's such a stark contrast in scaling in these two team comps, something we haven't really seen this Worlds, where there's such a distinct early game or mid game spike on ROX Tigers and much better scaling on SKT, almost unheard of in the current meta.
I absolutely agree with you right there. And having 2 turrets down in the bottom lane this early creates another very peculiar situation, because will Bang be able to get the farm, or will ROX be able to completely ward up that side of the jungle and starve out the Ezreal even longer? Because these are the things that are going to dictate this game. Whether or not Bang and Faker and Duke can hit the late game point before the ROX Tigers completely gain control of the map, take all the outer turrets, and starve out the game.
We see another reason why taking down those 1 or 2 turrets is so important, because then ROX can switch to a 1-3-1, especially playing double teleports on the side lane. They can move into the jungle, make picks.
Wolf is caught. There's all the damage. Make it rain. Bullet times there as well, and Wolf does get a slink away, low on HP, but that's 2 ultis down.
Mid push, bot push, poke. This should be a Dragon Star here for the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, and I'm actually very surprised that the ROX Tigers haven't taken Dragon yet, because they actually opted to take the second tier bottom turret instead of the first Infernal Drake, which kind of means they don't care about what would be the late game power of what the Drakes can stack up, because they would theoretically be thinking pre-35 minutes. They can take it now, but it is a little bit delayed if they're looking to really stack them for late game.
And honestly, what's been keeping them from taking the Dragon has been the vision SKT had and the pressure Faker had in the mid lane. He has been pressuring on this Victor. He got a solo kill after Flash was burned. Right now, there's also TP advantage for Duke.
Rumble caught Faker.
Drake secured, and wow, Faker just going to die at the outset. Only one knocker for the Strength of Thorns, and Prey with a nice flash gets away from the Echo. Duke is out of this one. Wolf also gonna burn down. It's Smeb just on a killing spree on this one. Blake gonna get chased down. A beautiful equalizer, synergizing with Peanut, and now Duke's got nowhere to go. He's alone and running out of health way too fast. There's another kill picked up, and it goes on to Prey. 9-2 ROX Tigers.
What a fight for the ROX Tigers, and Smeb found the pocket of vision where SKT couldn't see them, and SKT walked right into it, which is incredibly rare from SKT, who is normally a very measured team. But Smeb getting to open with Flamespitter in melee range of Faker completely changed the game.
ROX completely set it up as a bait. They start the Dragon there, and how do you beat teleport advantage? Well, you simply walk down. Another arrow, good shift by Bang. You simply walk down to the objective. Smeb completely surprises, just like Jack mentioned, out of Fog of War. Nobody expected him to be there. All eyes were set on Duke in the flank. Look, suddenly he unleashes on Faker, low mobility champion on Victor. Nobody on the side of SKT was ready for there to be a rumble in that brush, and then it all starts collapsing downwards. ROX Tigers really leveraging their lead in the bottom lane, opening up the map that way, and then safely committing to the objective. They didn't start it until they were absolutely sure they could win that fight.
Yeah, and you can just notice the domination of Smeb in that fight. He killed both Wolf and Faker with 2 flame spitters and 2 cycles of his harpoons. Then he had the ultimate afterwards to try and help with the 3rd kill. That is exactly the mid-game power spike they wanted. Notice a supportive build by Kuro as well to try and supplement Prey's 3 kills.
I like the items coming in, because how many times have we seen support Karma competitive? Literally never? Great. So Gorilla finishes the Ice Stone really rapidly. It's funny, he's earned so much more money off of that than Wolf has. Zyra's notorious for how much money she gets from a Spell Thieves, and it's literally double the amount of money that Gorilla's earned from the triggers, because Make It Rain is so free. But then also, whoever has gone first item Executioner's calling on support. Well, turns out dealing physical damage in an AoE to apply grievous wounds pretty useful against Olaf and Echo.
Yeah, there's already 900 gold on that support item for Gorilla, just by continuously making use of those passives.
Literally.
Literally
making it rain. It's perfect. How have we not thought of this before?
Right,
The theming bonus is real.
As a support.
They want to steal this.
Ooh, no, it's going to go to the blue team. That is SKT. Blank gets out with his life, and I believe he is the one wearing the buff as well. Eagle's going to go up to the side. Can he land the kick? No, jukes away, and now Peanut's out of help. SKT with a beautiful disengage. Nicely played.
And even though ROX has an extremely large early game advantage, it's mistakes like that that could cost them the game if they keep making these things. That's twice now Peanut is overextended.
It is the nature of their style. They continuously go for high tempo, high aggression plays where sometimes there's a risk of failure, but over a large sample size of these plays, it generally works out for them. That's why they keep sticking to it, and that's why nobody minds them going for these plays. But the matchup like SKT, they gotta keep committing and delivering.
Duke heavily injured. He's also got all the healing debuffs on him, but his health bar holds up long enough, and Wolf's able to zone the rest of the team away. But it's still a huge wave coming into the top lane. The shields are there, so he tank it up, and that will be another turret picked up. This will be the 4-2 turret scoreline, I think, here for ROX Tigers. If they can hold on with this wave, they are getting shipped down, and yes, they will have to wait it out just for now. The stun's not going to let risk out, and oh, Duke is rooted. He can't ult in time, and Kuro's getting the kill credit, the turret as well. Look at the lead, 5,000 ROX Tigers.
Duke didn't even have his ultimate. Why was he going in right there onto his parallel convergence? But they are going to try and set up a play on the bottom side. Peanut,
he knows.
trying to run forward to get out.
Running left. He's got Swifty boots because he has something to jump to. There's a ward.
It's really hard to catch Elise Sin here.
Well, he's faster than Faker, and Prey's arrow, it's a zoning arrow. Makes Faker turn around, Peanut gets out.
Makes it out somehow. He knew the gank was coming here, and most importantly, the tower's not chipped because the wave has disappeared here. So SKT kind of skirmishing for kills, but they're not taking objectives. ROX always tie their kills to objectives right now. That's why they're amassing such a large gold lead.
And it's going to keep going. It's interesting because SKT has actually opted into fighting more than, honestly, I would have expected. If we're talking about a ROX Tigers comp, that's going to get outscaled. I think Infernal Drake or not. And SKT's like, yeah, we'll fight you for Drake. Ooh, 4 for 0, maybe not so hot.
Because the setup looked so good. It was a complete teleport advantage. Like, if you're a pro team and you see a TP ward in pristine position, you have TP advantage on an Echo, on a flank, on 2 low mobility targets like an Ashe and a Misfortune support, out of all things, you just gotta go and pull the trigger, and that's why it was so impressive that Smeb snuck in at the right time.
Yeah, now we really get to see if ROX can close here on a giant stage, because they are up 5,000 gold. We know they're on a timer. They have Prey set up to get the picks with Ashe Arrow. They have Smeb on a massive 2-item power spike, and they've already taken down one of the interior turrets for SKT. So it's the mid lane and the top lane that they need to be able to get next. But to do that, they need to get vision control, and they need to get their waves pushing.
Yeah, but if SKT can fight back, it will mean so much for this series, because this is the largest gold deficit at 20.
Faker with one of the worst flashes. He needs practice tool. Down he goes. That's going to be a kill for ROX Tigers. Off the arrow cooldown. Bang tagged as well. Not much more.
An incredibly rare missed flash there from Faker, and that sets up a powerful push by ROX in the mid lane. Faker's not there to wait clear. They have to try to do this with Olaf axes and no Ezreal ultimate.
Ooh, big chunk on the Wolf as well. For a supportive build, Kuro's got plenty of damage. Torque helping. Force for the kickback. Oh my gosh, that damage. Yeah, that is when you go Hexdrinker on Lee Sin. It feels pretty good. Mid lane turret's gone.
Yeah, the momentum for ROX here, it's very palpable. They have a really rough early start to game 1, but they fight their way back in multiple times in very creative ways. Then they come out with the support MF and start swinging here. Look at Faker. Everybody in Twitch chat would have landed that flash.
Oh my goodness. He was trying to flash the big wall because that corridor itself, with the angle of the Ashe arrow, he wasn't finding a good way to flash it sideways, but a rare moment of panic and a wasted flash there from Faker.
Another dragon here. We missed that, but that's another mountain here.
Yeah.
The RNG is definitely working out for ROX Tigers. They're getting objective-based or scaling-based dragons continuously, and that's what they need. That's like the dream for early game comps like them.
I mean, talking about it on a statistical level, Infernal Drake is actually best when you have a gold lead. It on average means less if you're behind, but absolutely now ROX Tigers feeling good at the 6,000 gold lead. More stats ahead, of course, and if they ever go for an objective, they'll kill it pretty quickly. Peanut, once again, going to find Blank, who's just chipped down by the early magic penetration. Speb lights him on fire with a harpoon. That's painful as well, and ROX Tigers Getting pushed in a bit, though.
Yeah, notice how SKT is trying really hard to get vision control over the Baron area. And with Mountain Drake, that's exactly what ROX would want for a 22-minute Baron. If SKT is just to concede the Baron, they probably lose the game. Because 6,000 gold into a 4,500 gold Baron power play opens up an inhibitor and gives them a 10,000 gold lead. That's the game. So SKT is actually in a very dire situation in this match where they have to fight an early game team who is in the midst of a power spike, 22 minutes, to contest the Baron that ROX is going to try and force.
And then we need to look at how can they do that. And the only way that seems conceivable is, honestly, ROX overreaching, which can happen, but it's unlikely given the way they've played so far. There's only been minor overreachings from Peanut. The other way is a TP flank from Duke. And to set up a TP flank, you need a lot of deep wards, but if ROX play it well, that possibility will be eliminated. And that makes it incredibly hard for SKT to walk into this comp with a Rumble and Ashe and Azira.
I agree, and I also want to talk about the Rift Herald that SKT got for Duke, because they're hoping that they can stall this Baron long enough by having good pressure in the bottom lane from Duke with the help of the Rift Herald, and then just delay ROX as much as possible, or force them into an odd number fight. Or if they can get division control when ROX sends 2 people for Duke, then they could potentially get a pick. These are the few ways that SKT could stall, although ROX Tigers clearly in the driver's seat.
Definitely in the driver's seat, and also playing much more to their identity, you know, putting a carry on Smeb, very early aggression, mixing an early game aggressive jungler with strong pushing lanes here. It all ties together, and ROX get rewarded for their choices as well here. Complete surprise here with the Misfortune, allowing the Karma finally to be flexed. So often we had Karma support. See this duel.
Another battle. Duke should feel pretty good fighting Smeb. Equal level. He's kept up with that one pretty well. And Smeb not even fighting during the overheat. Just doesn't want to punch for that extra damage. He knows he's going to lose that trade.
Yeah, 0-3 Echo versus 4-0-4 Rumble. Still wins the duel. So it definitely tells you so much about the matchup and how there is still a timer on the side lane. And if there's one matchup that you want to win, it is always the side lane pressure one in competitive league.
And it's twice in a row now that SKT have picked top lane second, found a matchup that seems to be pushing better later on as the matchup unwinds. And it's the price ROX paid in Champ Select for saying, hey, we're going to hide this Karma as a flex. We're going to pick top lines so we can hold it for a little bit longer. And SKT gets a counter pick, and it's paying off at least a little bit.
And I can't stress enough how important it is that ROX can close out this game for their chances in this series. They've pulled out the surprise. They've had a great early game lead. And if they were to somehow fumble this and allow SKT to come back and go down 2-0 after seeming like they had SKT against the ropes, I can't imagine them actually winning the extended series. So ROX Tigers definitely have to grasp the opportunity in front of them right now.
Yeah, 2 blue trinkets burned there, but the face check wasn't punished. They need to be in a position where they blow up the first target that they see. And also, Smeb just wants to join with teleport. That's what we're looking for. If you are the ROX Tigers right now, you want to rob any of the vision in the river. But the problem is, their setup is just inadequate. They don't have enough pink wards to accurately make it work. They need more river pinks. Just sweepers is not enough. Instead, they're going on the offensive. That's defendable.
And it's actually, I think it was Faker who was able to land the last hit on the blue buff. I thought I saw the gold over his head. And yeah, even the contest for blue buff is not working. The side lane has no pressure. Duke is winning that. The mid lane is not getting pushed in because it's an Ezreal and Victor. They wave clear for a living, basically. And ROX aren't getting a lot done.
Messy plays. ROX right there. If that axe comes a second earlier, 2 of them base, 2 of them get caught. That's a Baron loss right there. Their Baron setup that they committed it so hard, multiple members there, was just done poorly.
Yeah, and you look now, SKT still has pretty strong vision within their own jungle, which is where they could get caught. And there's no turret here for Kuro.
The top side, pink wards go down for the teleport. What else can they get? Kuro trying to heal up in time, and he can't blank, gets the shutdown, he gets the kill.
What's Kuro doing there? Why is he there? He's pushing a side lane with no river vision. He just had 4 of his teammates back in that brush, if not 3. This is another mismatch of ROX. They're losing their late game finesse.
Absolutely, and that's the second time Kuro's been in a bad spot right when it seemed like ROX was going to take control of the whole game. There's very early on when ROX got a bunch of advantages, Faker solo kills him in the mid lane. Here, everyone else recalls while SKT actually has decent vision control, and he not only dies, but burns his flash while dying, which completely diminishes the pressure again.
Arrow on the Pinko. The damage is here. He's able to flash away in time, but it's still Peanut on the chase. Gets a kick back, but doesn't quite get enough for it. That is still Bang missing all of his summoners now. A reveal, and ROX Tigers hoping to take control back to the top river.
Yeah, but Smeb didn't go back to bot lane. ROX want a hard force because there's no teleport on Smeb. They may even just commit to the Baron. Yeah, no teleport on Duke, rather. And they're going in because here's Kuro with his teleport.
Smeb a bit low, takes plenty of damage, but has no equalizer to cast either, and the Make It Rain doesn't do much.
This may be the moment. They burn Faker low. He's out of summoner spells. They have Smeb here. Duke would be running in. They either need to get a pick here and multiple kills, or they need to secure the Baron because this gold lead continues to shrink. ROX trying to go right now.
And they're on top of the Scuttle Crab, so this information is known. SKT looking for the play. Faker coming back in, and the other four right here. Smeb is low. No ulti on him. No arrow just yet either. It's Blank popping the ulti. 1,000 health on Baron. What's it going to be? The shutdown of the Olaf, and it's secure for Peanut. The re-engage for Faker. He's going to pick up one. So far, it's a 4 versus 4. Baron buff still on ROX. Trey dodging away from the CC, but he could get back. He could get shut down, but he trades it back, and Prey stays alive. Duke makes the big play, shuts down the AD carry, but he will get kicked down, and he will get picked off. 4 for 2, and the Baron secure for ROX.
The instantaneous communication, realizing they could turn this fight. So many teams would have just left Prey to die, but they realized they can turn it around.
And ROX Tigers knew they needed to go now. I love the focus when Blank tries to move in for the first steal. They all go to damage Blank before the Baron can be in smite range. And from there, Faker goes in. This is the moment you're talking about, Kreppel, where they recognize they can turn it around.
I mean, they could easily secure 3 buffs here. Prey flashes defensively, goes for stun, and turns like... This is so unexpected to get out of that fight winning. Shouldn't be possible. What a great call by the ROX Tigers.
They knew they had the early game advantage, and they've had some slight missteps throughout the mid-game, but that Baron, incredibly crucial in their quest to try and win this game. They've killed most of the outer turrets. They have to push in for inhibitor turrets here.
And again, it was by a really good decision by Smeb to not match bot for bot, even though both teleports were down. He knew Smeb burned, or he knew how to Duke use that teleport earlier on the pick on Kuro. When the Echo was in the bot lane, Smeb just joined the fight, basically telling SKT that they were playing 4v5 on the left side. That's why ROX was so brute forcing on certain plays, almost seemingly overextended, because they always knew they had a 5v4 and they didn't have to kill. They just had to wound, send them back to base, and then go for the aggressive Baron. Really well thought out by ROX. This is the play that started minutes in advance.
Just like the previous game, it's still ROX on a bit of a time.
Oh, he killed him.
Outscaled is still there. Whoa! That's all the damage. Peanut needs mid inhibitors down as well. 5v4, keep on going.
Peanut just exquisitely sin play right there, burning the Arcane Shift with his first Sonic Wave and then killing him on the second one. That was just perfect, and it's exactly what ROX needed to continue to push in.
Dirty plays by Peanut. Back in his element. He definitely shook off the game 1. That was an arrow expecting a minor juke on reaction from Faker. Faker shook off that failed flash.
Quick wave clear comes through. That wave is gone, and with only a cannon, not even a turn off backdoor bonus, so not a lot of gains to be had. Blink even smites it away for good measure, but the new wave is coming in 5 seconds.
And that Baron play seems like it's turned the corner for the ROX Tigers to allow them to try and push in and close this game. Bang still dead, still have Baron buff. They push SKT off the turret, and they
Blink
go.
is low. They want a little bit more. That Olaf's going to run away. Pops the Ragnarok. Smed's going to be careful. Pops Zonia's to stay alive, and it's an inhibitor down. Duke is on the chase for Prey, though. Getting what damage he can. Ults back for plenty of damage, and ROX Tigers are dangerously close to death. It's going to be Kuro falling. Duke trading his life for that one, and Blanks around the flank. He can get the slow. They've caught up Bevic. Gorilla has to just run away. That's a pretty clean 4 for 0. Beautifully done, SKT.
And just when SKT wanted to turn it around, they came up with a huge play. And that just began with Duke pulling off a wondrous combo to start that. And ROX, to be fair, weren't respecting the respawns, but most likely they let Duke get behind him as they were diving.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. The only way SKT win fights is with flanking. Look at the zone from Parallel Convergence. He forces everyone to step forward into the Zyra, into the Ezreal. Bang! Faker and Wolf are untouched here, and what a beautiful ultimate there from Duke.
He still had the Guardian Angel at the end of the fight as well. Faker was able to just chase at the end of the fight. Blank sticks around from the side of the wall to land axe after axe, and even though ROX Tigers pulled off that great Baron play, the gold lead is kind of forfeit. We're back to about 1,000 gold different than what it was before ROX even got the Baron, and SKT will still have a chance.
They absolutely do. 5,000 gold difference, not the worst to be had. You just saw the end result of Bang running up the map and stealing a red buff at the end result of that team fight, knowing there's no contest, taking everything he possibly could, like stealing a red away, getting on an Ezreal, feels really good.
And we gotta look at the wardrobe now, because Duke is looking for a repeat of that scenario around the next Infernal Dragon. That's the one that's gonna spawn. Both these teams are already setting up for the Dragon.
Yeah, setting for Dragon, but also making what plays they can. Peanut was in a pretty dangerous spot, but thankfully wasn't really spotted Still got an Olaf chasing, though. He could get surrounded.
ROX is in a really weird position right now, though. Prey and Gorilla are both shoving the top lane, so SKT know that ROX can't get the backup.
This is going to be dangerous. Peanut's going to keep running. Wolf's going to look for the... Oh, not going to get the root, but the Strength of Thorns will land. The kickback doesn't mean much to Blank, and that should be a kill onto the ROX Tigers jungler.
But he's just buying time.
Yeah, pushing the bottom side. This is what SKT is trying to punish. They're going to get the inhibitor.
Gorilla putting down 5 damage auto attacks, doing what he can to keep mid lane alive because top and Hib has been killed, and they even got the pick off on Bang.
ROX doesn't actually have to stop pushing right now. They can delay the recalls.
The arrows!
Look at the arrow! He can teleport!
He's gonna stop it! He's stopped too, which means they can push. It's now on Wolf. It's a teleport coming in for Smeb and Curl. How much more can be done?
They want to win right now!
The tank. Wolf running out of health. He's gonna die off. Onto the turrets they go, but the minions are gone, and it's too much. SKT are here to defend. This is a difficult 3v2. Pushing down Duke, down below 1,000. Ult's back on towards Prey. Push back yet again, but Smeb's running low. But they get it. It's on the Nexus. They're trying to burn it down. Is this not gonna be enough? It's not. ROX Tigers answer back with game 2.
I love this series. Back and forth and back again. ROX Tigers looked like SKT was going to be able to bring it back on them, and by pushing from the middle of the map all the way through to the Nexus, the cross-map bash arrow to interrupt the teleport, the chase kills as SKT tried to fumble back for the defense of their Nexus. Unbelievable manner in which ROX finished that game.
And it just shows you that all these events are tied together. It starts with a pick on Peanut, and ROX have 2 members in top lane and say, you know what, buy time, stall. Peanut went for the most efficient kick, just trying to survive as long as he could. Duke actually was basing initially, canceled his base, started teleporting in the same spot. It looked like he saw the arrow being casted, but then he just went again for the teleport at the very last second. This may have just been the increase in channel time that cost him that teleport, got hit, and then the presence of mind right after to keep targets switching between turrets, members, turrets, Nexus. So smart by the ROX Tigers.
And we talk about momentum in this series, how if ROX Tigers would have lost this game, they would have just lost control of the series and most likely been out of the tournament. But the way in which they continue to take risks and continue fighting, and even if SKT gets a kill on Peanut here, or even a 4 kills in the base as ROX is pushing in, they will never stop applying pressure. And to win a game in a fashion like that, that's not the way traditional LCK machine teams play. This is ROX Tigers. They're a different breed of team.
They're an easy team to love. I mean, SK Telecom T1 are one of the most beloved teams. Faker, you heard the cheers for him when he was announced. Like, oh, yay, Kuro. Oh, yay, Prey. And then everyone goes wild for Faker. He's one of the major faces of the game. And you're seeing ROX Tigers just steal the fans' hearts with their personalities. Peanut has been kind of a pleasure to watch as well. The way they play is easy to love as well. And it's ROX Tigers hoping to finally have that groundswell saying, now when it matters most, now it's time. This is the time we finally take down SKT. We didn't get the chance to beat you in the summer finals. KT did that for us. So this is the time in the semis to finally get a chance to hoist the Summoners Cup. Let's knock down SKT.
How can you not love Peanut, though? The guy's like a miniature human. He looks so frail, but then he just shows up on League. Like, he fails his first gank in the first game that could tilt players for the rest of the series. Next game, he plays super aggressive. He just overextends and dies 1 time, and the next play he makes is he gets Bang's shift, goes back in, and 1v1s him in the middle of the base. Like one of the world's best AD carries on Ezreal, one of the best AD carries or Ezreals that have ever played. He just 1v1s him simply in the base as Lee Sin. This guy is so freaking good.
And let's not forget, ROX Tigers just played support MF and won.
Yeah.
Like, let's let that sink in a little bit as this series is now tied 1-1.
Yeah.
We're in for a treat.
We had a damage graph in the middle of the game where Gorilla was second amongst the team. Smeb was first. He was second, more than the Ashe, more than the Karma. Shocker, more than the Lee Sin. So that's fun. MF ban, maybe. We'll see, but let's watch it down to Dash and the rest of the guys for that win.
First, and just picks that make you uncomfortable rather than being forced to play ban the meta champions.
Exactly. The consistent thing we can track throughout these ban phases, at least, is that ROX has been banning the Syndra and the Rise, and SKT has been making sure to keep Aurelion Sol on the ban list. What's interesting is that Red Side is actually banning the Nidalee all the time, but for this SKT Red Side ban, no surprise at all.
This looks like first pick Zyra if they're banning the Karma away, unless they think like MF is the right one for it.
I think they just say support MF doesn't work that well into Karma, but it works great into Zyra. That could be their rationale. They're saying,
and they take Caitlyn.
We no longer care that you take the early rotation Zyra. We've just shown you an answer, they're probably just going to lean towards an early pick Olaf. It would have been Jace if Jace wasn't banned here, but both these teams seem to agree that it's so strong.
Yeah, the thing with the early pick Olaf is they have banned away the Karma, so they don't necessarily have a great way of hasting Peanut. The fact that Ashe is first picked,
if somebody would have told you
that in our pick and ban preparation, that's for sure.
If somebody would have told you Ashe is going to be contested first pick, first ban in Game 3 of ROX SKT, you would have called them crazy.
Yeah, these games are being played at such a high level that the Ashe arrows actually have kind of swung the game in a lot of different instances. These teams aren't willing to opt in to a negative team fight, but they can find so many positive team fights with the Ashe arrows. That's maybe one of the reasons they're picking Ashe, as well as the strong laning phase.
But if we look at what actually counted Ashe very hard in the past, it's been maybe the Olaf pick that can't get CC, but I want to see SKT just play Caitlyn Tahm Kench, honestly. Get a matchup that can farm graciously, even if pushed in the Caitlyn, pick it up, have good mid game, then get the Tahm Kench later on, and you can just start playing the map 1-3-1, make picks everywhere, because Tahm Kench in the mid game is the hardest counter to Ashe Arrow in the game.
Very true, and you saw that for the first time all series long, SKT have not rush picked the Zyra now, whether it's because of the chance of the MF counter or, as you're mentioning, the Tahm Kench possibly being the counter pick they actually want. We'll have to see.
I think it's definitely because of the Misfortune counterpick, as funny as that is. As tournaments progress, being able to find a foil to meta picks gives you a huge upper hand in some of these pick and ban phases, and I think that's what ROX have done with support Misfortune. So they're kind of preventing SKT from being able to take it, and I think they're going to be able to get the Zyra. The problem with that is they have given over Olaf, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Olaf and Orianna in this from a team composition perspective, because you get a big Olaf running in with Orianna, and you can actually run right over Ashe Zyra. So a lot of mind games and strategy going on in this draft phase.
Well, still waiting to see what they want to do. Of course, SKT had no reason to rush pick their Caitlyn. They already knew ROX Tigers had a marksman picked up, and I don't think we think Ashe is going to get flex picked as much as we saw the MF do that. But now they are going to go back for the Zyra anyway, so waiting a little bit to pick the champion, still going for it, and the Orianna back in for Faker. Again, Misfortune, of course.
Yeah, very similar comp here by ROX. The Victor replaces the Karma. Victor does get pushed in a little bit by Orianna early, so it's not the guaranteed 3-push lane here, which may mean a lot here, because Faker has shown that he can leverage push in lane into advantages for other lanes. One addendum to this matchup is that the Zyra, or rather the MF poke, is going to be very hard onto a Misfortune, because she actually outranges the Caitlyn outranges Misfortune in that aspect, and that's going to change up a little bit of the poke pattern down in the bot lane for ROX Tigers.
Yeah, completely agree, and I think that's why SKT picked the Caitlyn so early. They're thinking they can give this matchup another go, and it does still play off of ROX Tigers having the surprise matchup here, right? They're trying it again. Oftentimes when you get surprised by one thing, you go back, you think, okay, what did we do wrong about that pick? And they think they can beat this Misfortune support. The Echo final pick is no surprise. It's their counter matchup to the Rumble, and they actually get two pretty strong lanes in the mid and the top line if you're looking like SKT.
But last game, we also got to see why Praise Ashe was so good. It's not only the way he handles it, the way he arrows, it's also the early game hawk shots, because they reveal people in the jungle, and that allows Peanut to excel.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also feel like this draft is much better than the last one for SKT. They're not against they're not with three losing lanes against a Misfortune as well as Elise. They actually have lanes that can get some semblance of control with the mid lane, and maybe the Caitlyn can be a little bit better in the bottom side.
What's interesting with that, as you mentioned, the context of the game changing because of the lane. Here, 3 for SKT, 4 for ROX Tigers. They just took the Victor over themselves, but just the way the matchups line up, we might have a substantially different game with just 2.5 different champions.
And let's not forget that it was Peanut's counter gank very early on that decided kind of the series when he hit in the top lane rush, really allowed ROX Tigers to snowball, because we saw if the gold was closer, SKT could have easily taken it in the late game.
Well, it's going to be a fun one to watch for, and we'll see if SKT can definitely hold on a lot closer to the early game than they had in the previous year. Of course, Kuro is back on his famed Victor, and that will be some more damage to be had, which, again, helps ROX's late game chances out. But SKT looked so good when they had when they had Orianna on Faker. He's been very big so far in this series, and we have game 3 coming up. It's 1-1 so far, a best of 5 for a shot in the finals. We'll see who their opponents are tomorrow, but today we figure out who deserves to move on and who gets eliminated. Game 3, ROX Tigers vs SKT.
Yeah, and the first 2 games have just been so insanely entertaining and played at such a high level. It's you can see why these teams are so hyped and why they are oftentimes considered the two best teams in Korea or the world. And we kind of just have to take a deep breath and reset for this next game, because you can't think about the past when you're in these situations, and you always have to look towards the future. How do these teams reassert their dominance, retake control of the series, and find their way into the finals?
Yeah, it all starts with adequately playing the laning phase here. You see Gorilla moving up, farming gold again, trying to find enemy support.
And it's ROX going to be starting Peanut on the top side of his own jungle. So both duo lanes too busy fighting each other for supremacy to do much else. Break! Doesn't land it.
One little thing this does is getting the push up early from Gorilla in the lane allows him to trample a lot of these plants, these seeds. They're not really that relevant, but it's these minor things that happen, you know, and that matter in the battle for lane supremacy.
Yeah, and the Caitlyn is such a different pick here than the Ezreal. The early laning shove could be much different depending on how well they can land poke in the early game. The make it rain, not to mention the volley. I doubt we'll see Bang in a 30 CS hole like we saw in the last matchup, but it's still going to be very interesting to see how they shove each other in.
Now look at both these players trying to maximize their poke, hitting both minions and champions at the same time. Gorilla, he could obviously opt for just a champion target right there because he was already winning the push, but much more even. Second wave is going to decide it all. 3 melee creeps is what separates them right now from hitting level 2.
3 melee minions. First plant comes up. Wolf actually managed to get 2 plants up, and that means a bit of extra damage. Gorilla's on plant killing duty, and level 2 coming in shortly.
There's also something we have to point out about the early wards that happened in the jungle right here. They got to see Peanut taking the blue buff, and they also have another ward into the Raptors, so they could have knowledge of Peanut all the way through his jungle clear, which gives Blank and the rest of SKT a whole bunch of knowledge about how to play their lane.
Same time though, Blank did get a leash here at the start of the game as well, so both these junglers quite aware of each other's positions.
The interesting thing with the leash though is you can fake a leash as a top laner unless you have actual knowledge of him.
Yeah, but Olaf is so dangerous on that clear just alone. But if you'd fake it, he'd start blue buff, so it's technically possible. Blank right now. Sure. Love this. In the range support matchups, it's so strong to get that Scuttle Crab early on, because now they can move the ward up to Tribush. The only caveat is that at least Sin could technically go over the wall, but he would have to find some janky walls to really dodge that double ward there.
Seems like it's not really going to happen, and Peanut was able to actually wait out the Trinket ward, and even if it's not specifically scouting SKT, knowing the general habit, saying, oh, Faker put a ward down, Kuro says he left mid lane for the Trinket, here's the timer, and Peanut's able to jungle without getting directly spotted.
And this is how Peanut honestly snowballed the game when they played against EDG. ROX Tigers got some information on EDG in a lot of their games early on. Peanut went for a full clear and then went for a level 3 or 4 gank somewhere around their strong lane, usually Smeb. And once he snowballs Smeb ahead, gets that first turret down, that's when he moves his focus to the bottom lane. And with these matchups in mind, they can do a similar style here again.
Yeah, last game they had the early push from the Rumble in the top lane. They synergized that very well. But in that game as well, Blank was much more obvious about where he was. He burned his ghost in mid lane, then meandered up to the top lane to walk into a counter gank. Here he catches him at the Scuttle Crab, and the crisis is somewhat averted.
And with this Scuttle Crab that he took out the Rift Herald pit right now, Smeb can keep pushing up the top lane because he can just ward the brush that he's about to do right now. He doesn't have to care for river wards because the combination of that ward and Scuttle Crab makes him ungankable by Blank, which means he can just unrelentingly push in constantly.
Here's the first attempt for the gank. Peanut gonna ward hop, gonna land an auto attack into the slow. Nice juke by Faker. Stays going to the left, and Peanut's gonna land the Sonic Wave.
At the mind game, so he goes in for the dash, then he tries to fake a Q animation by Eing, hoping Faker would maybe flash if it connects, or juke, or endlessly juke to death. There's so much reverse mind games in that play.
They're so good at juking as well. And Krepo, you and I were talking about this during the quarterfinals with SKT, how many deadly flourishes they dodged from Jhin.
Yeah.
The level of these players of just sidestepping so many of these skill shots is truly the best in the world. And we saw a small example of it right there. The mind games between Peanut and Faker, respecting each other's skills, and Faker comes away on top there by dodging.
And it's actually Korean advice, but you gotta just keep clicking so close to your character model so you can do the quicker turns. You see that at Faker here, because there's no turn speed in League of Legends. He turns much more often and much more accurately than a lot of players. Right now, Blank trying to repeat the same thing here. Axum to Kuro.
Looking for his play, gets the slow. Kuro this time around, gonna save his summoners, knows that Blank had the juke a little bit too far back towards the lane to grab his undertow again. Peanut there to say, hey, get off my mid laner. But Kuro is down significantly in this laning phase, and Wolf's up to make it even more difficult as Peanut gives over 45 gold.
Yeah, I like the roam there from Wolf,
Yep.
actually, because they knew the other dual lane was recalling. They're going to be able to shove out the lane by leaving Bang down their solo. And now they get to use him for some ward control in the mid lane, so...
Yeah, well, ward control, they don't bring any wards. Look at their builds. Both of them upgraded Frostfang. They're like, screw the wards. We're the damage dealers now.
Yep. You're landing a full combo is 45 gold. It'll accelerate them towards a later sight stone, but they'll be fairly rich as before. Yeah, both marksmen actually getting very interesting recalls. Bang got a full BF sword. Prey has parts, and yeah, he's going towards Essence Reaver anyway, but not the same level of power right now on this Ashe.
Yeah, and the lane is working out much differently than it was when it was in Ezreal who was paired with the Zyra, because Bang's Caitlyn has been able to outrange the MF as well as outrange the Ashe as far as their really small trades as they're trying to CS. And sometimes ROX Towers can get the shove in, but then they also can't harass Bang as effectively while Bang is trying to CS. So this support Misfortune pick is actually going to have some pretty real fall off if they can't execute some kills at level 6, and it's a much better choice here by SKT with the Caitlyn.
Definitely, especially when MF tries to follow up on a Make It Rain. It's very easy for Caitlyn to just do an EQ combo, any trap combo, any just sort of disengage where they can then follow up with some damage too. That makes it so that Gorilla has to wait for level 6. Remember though, the power spike on the engage is much better for ROX Tigers, because even if there is Strangle Thorns from Zyra, by that time she can very likely already be blown up, because both of the engages, both of the high damage spells outrange the exhaust that Wolf is carrying. So if he eats an arrow, he just gets blown up anyways.
Yeah, not to mention the assistance that Peanut would be able to provide to his gank. There's so much mobility on the Lee Sin with lane ganks with Ashe that if you land the arrow, even if the person has all summoner spells, it's a likely kill because Peanut can probably combo with the damage.
Yeah, keep in mind, he can safeguard to plants, and those things have almost 1,000 range you can place them at for a Zyra, so it is pretty easy for Peanut to get in. Also worth noting, is sort of par for the course.
Yes.
Wolf getting caught at level 4. Here's the jump in, a few more attacks will do it, and that's first blood. Peanut with the flash kick on the Bang. That was beautiful, and they make it a double kill for Prey.
And Bang should have flashed that here. We see Blank flanking here, looking for Gorilla. Is he watching?
No way.
Juke. Is he going to land it? Just walks into his face. The heal is there, and he's running away with Ghost and Undertow on. Sonic Wave is there. Is he going to do it?
Go.
Is he going to do it?
Is that range?
Yeah. Wasn't able to like safeguard it and make it more.
What an awesome series of events that we just saw right there. Exactly as they're about to ping level 6, they pop Wolf down, who was a little bit even lower on experience because of the support roam. Bang didn't have the flash at the right time. And then even at the very end when Blank goes in for the last kill, just an awesome series of events.
Yeah, but you can see that the pressure is getting to Bang here. There's no way he should die in that exchange. Right now, he should just leave his support to die here.
Bail out.
Just bail. Let him use the heal. Ooh, the Mad Life on that Q and then instant kick flash follow-up. Yeah, it makes you wonder. Should have been able to flash that one.
Peanut had just hit level 6 on that approach as well. And then because Gorilla was so low, Peanut, or Blank actually understands his limits right here. Doesn't mess around. Point blank Q, immediately running away. The only thing he could have done to pick up that kill at the end. But still advantage ROX Tigers for pulling off that double kill.
Little thing for Blank. He waited until he applied red buff with auto, and then he and Morpho here supports battle off. But he waited with the axe until he was already close applying red buff, because if the first axe misses, the time it would take for him to pick it up and throw it again would mean his death. So, very well played by Blank.
I got a shot at two things from Wolf, though. One is he could have flashed the air, of course, and failed to do so. But the second one is I believe he actually led Prey through Fog of War when he got that route over the Dragon Pit right there. There were no wards in the actual jungle at the time, so seeing him come up the river is like, and he's here, and nailed the Womp Rat.
Alright, Arrow's up again. Misfortune Ultimate is up again. They could use it to force just some damage. They don't necessarily need to kill. That's a setup right there. It's the Make It Rain into the arrow, into the bullet time. That's the combo. They can leverage that poke into a potential dragon. However, it's a cloud break.
Got him again. There's the stun, there's the volley slow, and all the damage they could possibly need. Gorilla gets the kill. Nothing Wolf could have done outside of getting out of the lane entirely.
And I actually think he should have actually been out of the lane entirely. Or at least at his turret, because the minion wave was already going to push in. Yes, Prey is incredibly accurate with his arrows, and he's making this Ashe pick work, but Wolf without flash and low experience with no heal in the lane needed to be sitting at his turret for Bang to last hit. I count that as a mistake by SKT.
Well, you're seeing those mistakes get exploited, and this is the ROX Tigers that we talked about at the beginning of the show. SKT are a more reactive team, which is not meant as an insult, but it's That's their style. They're a little bit more slow-paced. ROX is about finding an opening and taking a crowbar to it as fast as possible. And this first pick, Ashe, is that crowbar. It's like, oh, flashless Zyra, let's keep going there.
And Gorilla still doesn't have any boots. He just went for the straight upgrade into forwards, using that strut to maybe get some roaming presence. SKT picking up the honestly given fabric here. We've got to keep tracking down Misfortune support here, because he already is playing with forwards on the map. That's one extra compared to Wolf. Wolf, no boots at all. Peanut?
Oh, Peanut shockwave, then rooted into everything. Nicely done. SKT picked one up.
Yeah, beautiful combo right there from Faker and Wolf, understanding their damage. They even got the last hit on the Raptors there, pulling that combo off.
And they track the flashes. That's what you got to do on the highest level. You see Lee Sin in the pit, probably use this shield rather safeguard on himself instead of saving it for a potential ward up. Likely ran out of wards. Now Wolf.
Don't pull the trigger on actually going for it. Gorilla had no ulti.
Yeah, and the story of this game also kind of syncs up with the story of these two teams, whereas ROX Tigers have a superstar in the top lane with Smeb, and they play through their bottom lane often, whereas Faker is just a pressure machine in the mid lane. So it's SKT now with the 1 kill on Faker and some more control, trying to play through mid, whereas ROX trying to play on the side lanes.
Not the most beautiful equalizer. Gets a 0 for that one. But it's still a 500 gold advantage, putting ROX Tigers ahead. You mentioned Faker being a pressure machine. You see he's up 20 minions right now, getting what chip he can on that mid turret. Maybe we'll see some more pressure soon.
But there's only 600 gold in the lead right now for the ROX Tigers. And they don't have that pressure mid lane, so they need to break open this tier 1 turret bot lane, just like they did in the last game. That is what will accelerate the game, what will allow them to move their Ashe to the mid lane and make picks on Faker. Right now, Peanut finds himself at least swayed it off that jungle creep. Flank aggressively defending, that's what they need to do. SKT cannot yield their own jungle again to Peanut.
I absolutely agree with that, and they can't yield this bottom turret. They have to be so careful not to get caught in the combo again!
The combo's there. Wolf's running out of help, but there's not enough damage to deal, really. Gorilla, if he got trapped up, might have been comboed out, so Bang putting in some proactive damage, and not a full bullet time.
Look how afraid they are of actually hitting the turret. Very little chips going that way.
Yeah, notice the hawk shot flew through the jungle of SKT, which I actually found a little surprising since they would have seen Blank in the top side earlier. So a bit of a wasted hawk shot, I feel.
This is
getting jungle timers.
Just not the perfect flow of information. Honestly, very hard to do. You know, trying to micromanage this lane, talking between each other, praying Gorilla of when they're gonna pull the trigger on the combo, actually landing all the skill shots while keeping track of the enemy jungle. Very hard.
But this pressure's finally working out. It's an individual 1,000 gold lead for Prey. The Make It Rain making Bang's life a little bit difficult, and 2 more autos will do it. First turret of the game, 13 minutes in. Nicely done, ROX Tigers.
Watch Gorilla step in for a little bit of extra gold as well. He's not giving up any gold to his AD carry right now. He is definitely in the running for damage dealt here.
And you can see Smeb trying to figure out what's going on up here. Of course, Duke waiting in the brush as well, but there's no junglers for either side. Smeb won't know the sun is coming, and he's not going to be able to juke away from it. So a nice early engage here by Duke. Gets Smeb down to half HP. And how much more can he really get? That's it.
Those are the kind of mind games that really swing the pressure in the top lane, especially as...
Wolf. Well, he had Blink around him.
Wolf's
Flash down.
not having the greatest game. It's quite annoying to play Zyra into this matchup, especially when you fall behind. Like you want to get vision, but you're still a ranged support into a Victor. Your team wants you to play Zyra, and even picks MF. You know you're gonna die because nobody's gonna hit your AD carry. This is such a hard pick to play because if you play too careful, respecting all this engaged, you may just yield too much pressure, already making it worth it for ROX.
Arrow once again.
Oh, this time around he's able to juke it. Oh, the flash Q though, Pino wants it, but the exhaust is enough! And the shield in from Faker. Wolf will survive it.
Because that was red buff on Peanut. He would have died if it weren't for the shield.
Faker definitely coming in clutch at the end there, but Wolf with the exhaustion. You talk about, Greppo, the difficulties that Wolf has had to undergo, but that's actually the first arrow he's been able to sidestep. He now has boots of mobility to give himself a little bit more leeway with being able to dodge some of these arrows. And again, we're in this situation. It's not as extreme as the last game, but where ROX is trying to take that Ashe and Misfortune and move it around the map to advantages. I feel like SKT is in a better position this game than they were in the last.
Definitely agree. It's a much closer game here on this one. SKT coming around in this one, looking for the fight on the Smeb. He's going to have to flash away from the stun, but Blank Slow is there, and Smeb has no other way of getting out. That's the kill picked up. Duke makes it 3-3, and the top lane's looking a whole lot better than it was before.
And that's the difference. Last game, they had double teleport, so they could keep committing to this Arrow bot lane that could just keep making picks off and get a turret, get an objective, even get 2 turrets. Right now, they were playing under a single teleport. Smeb has not found an opportunity to leave the lane as Rumble, and going even in this matchup, or even just going up 10 CS, is beneficial for the Echo later into the game.
Quick slow on the Faker. You're seeing the way SKT playing this game is quite a bit different. Wolf has been out of the bottom lane for quite a while now. 4-level difference compared to his AD carry. Just roaming, trying to find plays to make.
Yeah, note that Smeb had actually used his ultimate beforehand, which made this a pretty safe gank when you're considering it for SKT. They land the first axe, post-flash. Blank has actually had great patience with his undertows thus far.
Oh, man. That's Flash out of Bang, but he's still slowed down. There's the Harpoon, there's the chase down, and Gorilla's going to make it rain. And the bullet time, and it's going to be all the damage he needs. Gorilla getting the kill.
Because Gorilla played it smart. He flashed in for the love tap right there, then made it rain, slowed him down, guaranteeing his ulti would be up the entire time. I didn't see where the heal from Bang went up.
8 seconds left on the cooldown when he died. So very close margins there as ROX is able to pick up another kill. Still just 2,000.
Oh, that shockwave was way better than it could have been. It actually slows down Peanut as well, and it means Kuro's out of that one.
But again, ROX, when do they go on the aggressive? Right before the objective spawns. So this teleport essentially secured them another dragon here. So they always tie in their aggression with objectives, and that's how you play early in competitions. Just kills, not enough. The kills and objectives could be enough to leverage Elite large enough to combat whatever scaling advantage SKT have.
Yeah, that's the perfect balance. They have the pressure in the bottom lane, and it was clever how they ran Smeb there, even though his teleport was down, but now they're looking to catch him out.
Strangle Thorns to guarantee the rest of it lands. Wolf goes for the 100% secured combo.
Duke.
It does go to Duke. Blank gets an assist credit. Sunfire Cape hit him. Congratulations there. Skipper Hulk, I should say, but arrows coming in, and of course, it's going to hit Wolf, but how much more can they get? Oh, they're going to get the kill.
Feels bad, man. You go for a cross-map play, you catch the enemy top laner, you just use his teleport, everything's great, you even out that dragon somewhat, then an arrow hits you.
Gets him back on the plane. Yeah, the ulti was already down. He used it to get away from Prey's slows, and that's going to be the quick 2 for 0. ROX in even more control.
I mean, ROX, they keep switching up the side of the map that they play on. They finished the objective in the bottom lane of tier 1, so they left Bang alone. So even though they were a member down, they were still in a numbers advantage because they had the pick potential with the arrow, because they keep moving in bigger units, like they continuously move as 4 or 5 men.
Yeah, and then the question is, can you transition those kills into objectives? So far for ROX, it's been absolutely yes. They can get this turret down right now, and even though SKT was pushing the mid and bottom lane turrets, they only chip it. They don't actually convert into gold.
Yeah, again here, Smeb, he moves back to the top lane because his bot lane is basically saying they'll match him. He goes a bit too far. Honestly, this is Smeb overextending, but the reaction immediately here. Look at where Prey and Gorilla are right now. He sends out his arrow from so far. This is like,
yeah. Peanut gets spotted on a ward, doesn't care. If this arrow lands, it's good. It was the blue trinket that also helped them with the vision there. Once you get the long stun onto Wolf, it's an easy pickings for Peanut. And then Blank running out this way, you know his ultimate's down. Peanut can extend the play afterwards because he didn't have to use his kick. Beautiful counter by ROX after Smeb fell.
Totally agree. And that first pick, Ash, you're seeing it really pay off. Funny thing is, it's Gorilla who's the one being part of everything. 100% kill participation here on the support Misfortune. The counter pick to Zyra. So far, so good. And now it's the mid lane siege. 2-0 in turrets. And Duke's going to answer that one pretty quickly now. Top lane has just been, it's been counterpicked and it's been pressured enough that SKT are finding at least 1 point of leverage.
And at this point, SKT, they need an answer because Ash is arrowing every single time.
Bang's running out of health much too quickly.
And this is why ROX has first picked the Ashe. They're making so many plays with this combination.
All 7 kills, honestly, feel like they have had Prey involved, even if he didn't get an assist on one of them. Look at the enemy bot lane. 0-6 right now for Bang and Wolf. This Ashe Zyra lane needs to get answered by SKT, likely in the draft phase, likely with a ban.
Yeah, Prey has been playing Ashe for 6 years, and even though he hadn't been playing it early on in this tournament, the Ashe arrow's been what stayed the same the entire time. You just aim it, he knows the angles, and it's more than just clicking it on the person, because he's finding these SKT players against walls and in corridors where the likely place of retreat isn't possible unless they flash, and oftentimes he's throwing it at people with summoner spells that are down.
That's the best thing about watching people who excel at champions. They know how to put people into either dodge patterns, guaranteeing hits, or they get so good at predicting how people react to it. It's the same with like Bard ultimates, it's with Blitzcrank's hooks. if you can put them next to a wall, you eliminate the dodge in one direction. You then put the skill shot slightly higher in the other direction, they get hit. They just physically can't move out unless they flash. It's such a good play. And then Prey, for Fog of War, always angles his arrow just slightly, indicating, you know, I think you're going to juke into it ever so slightly once it pops on your screen, and then it's too late to dodge.
Yeah, it's always very interesting. I think statistically, more skill shot reliant champions get worse in higher tiers of play. You have famously champions like Ryze, where it's like, oh, for your average platinum player, it's 42% win rate. For professionals, every single game, because it's all targeted skills that pros can't dodge, because pros are so good at dodging skill shots. And Prey, on a champion who must land skill shots to be worth picking, is able to do so against the literal best players in the world. And you can't hype up enough how hard this normally is for your average player to land skill shots on players like Bang and Wolf.
But with all that in mind, it is only, when we say only, 2,000 gold lead here. SKT do have scaling components. Their mid scales very well. Smeb right now in a bit of trouble. He needs to get out of here.
And he's able to do so, but burns his flash and his ulti for it. Smeb has been the target of most of SKT's aggression.
So this is no flash on Smeb, and Duke is sitting on 2 kills already. He is the saving grace. Honestly, coming into the series, expected to be the weak point, but SKT need to rely on him right now and his side lane pressure on the Echo to drag him back into the game.
I find it fascinating how SKT has had Duke in positions where he needs to be the side lane pressure for them to have the game stalled out right here. Blank doesn't have his ultimate, but he is still very tanky.
He doesn't care.
They might try and turn this around if they had the right flank. And it's interesting here, right? Because the 3,000 gold advantage, for most teams, if you think ROX is 3,000 gold up, you think, game is over. But SKT is the best team in the world at playing from behind, and they also have some tremendous scaling in this game. The Zyra, who can scale into a massive damage dealer, compared to the Misfortune, who kind of falls off a bit of a cliff. Orianna, Caitlyn, Olaf, Echo, all these things can scale into advantageous matchups if they can continue the items to just match what ROX Tigers have. So even though ROX has the lead, there's no way this game is over.
Absolutely agree, especially when you've got these points of pressure that are in different spots. Duke has had priority over his one-on-one matchup against Smeb for the last several minutes now. Yes, ROX can land arrows, but Duke can keep pushing.
Let's follow the players on the map here. Smeb based, and he ran down towards his team because he's no longer in the top lane, because this is again what ROX is doing. Once they see an objective or potential pick opportunity, they play a more compact style of league, and Duke actually realized it. Instead of pinging the top wave, or instead of going to the top wave that he pinged earlier, he's actually joining his team immediately for contesting that objective in that dragon.
Yeah, they don't want to be spread out and get picked off by an Ash Arrow here, because that's where ROX could win the fight. But if they group up, SKT feels like they have a decent chance. They have a Luden's Echo just completed on Faker. That is a massive 2-item power spike, and SKT is going to hope to find a big fight.
Pressuring in mid first, they're going to have that wave pushed in. They're going to force ROX to react to them. Blink can't find the slow. There's the arrow, but it's onto the tank. SKT are fine with that one, and that's one of the big tools down.
So this is good for SKT. They can go in.
Oh, misses!
Oh, a lot of damage, and Wolf's going to burn to death already. That's a 1-for-0. How much more will ROX get? Does Peanut chase it into Blank? He does not.
This is not Wolf's game.
No.
He's been getting hit by all the Ash Arrows, and then he flashes in to miss his skill shot, and the engage is fumbled away by SKT. ROX going for the second Ocean Drake.
Yeah, he felt like he had to make the play, but there was definitely merit to patience for SKT. They had control over the mid lane. The objective wasn't started. It's not like it mattered so much.
Never mind.
Here we go.
That actually does force the flash out of Bang. You know Peanut's crazy. He'll go for that now. Gorilla, beset by Duke, has to flash away. So several summoners burn, but the re-engage is there, and he gets playing only into the wall. Peanut flubs it a bit and gets turned around.
No, no, no. You don't go try and solo Bang. He
Not
was
yet.
able to back up right there, and Faker got the shield from over the wall.
Yeah, not yet. He did it last game, was looking for a repeat play, but that's Peanut in a nutshell. He will have some failures, but he keeps going for all these plays. And overall, if you look at a series-wide, he generally has much more successes than failures, which make it work. This one, though, he got the flash.
Yep.
Then he wanted more.
Yeah, he knows that the flash is down on Bang. He lands this, but doesn't account for the 90 caliber net. Can't kick flash in time, but even if he could, Faker's still going to be able to get over there.
I think the trap, he got onto a trap that slowed him down. He knows. He's like, my bad, boys.
Now it's pressure back on the mid side. Wow, Duke deletes one, but it's a trade as well. Both supports are dead, and now Duke is being chased. Gets back onto Prey. They have the damage. Yes, he does. It's a shutdown. But now it's the Equalizer trying to hope the fight is just that. Maybe it's a 2 for 2. The flash chase, Kuro's there, the slows are there, and he will get the kill, a shutdown. 2 for 2 overall.
And we can see almost the fatigue or just the rapid pacing of the series starting to influence these players. The fact that you get hit by an Echo ultimate where you can clearly track the Ghost. You know, so many of these pickoffs have been visible to either teams, but there's these small mistakes. Wolf flashing in.
They really wanted to finish off this mid lane turret. The Asher actually lands on a Faker, but that pulls the rest of SKT in. So then Prey just has to flash forward onto Wolf, knowing all the damage is gone out of the fight. Impressive of Duke to be able to salvage this one, kill Gorilla, then ult back onto Prey, who wasn't respecting the clone. And yes, ROX runs it down, but to get a 2v2 in that situation, I think is actually fortuitous for SKT.
I have to take that back though, because the clone wasn't actually visible because he came from the teleport. That was the frame. The clone spawned in the lane because it was still in the fountain. He didn't know when it was going to come down, so he essentially has to count down 4 seconds from when the TP lands.
That's just beautiful from Duke.
That's actually insane from Duke, because if he does that a second too early, he flies back into the fountain.
And we see that all the time from Echoes who teleport into fights and then want to use their ultimates. So.
And if he did it 0.5 later, he would have missed. So that is actually frame perfect from Duke.
Yeah, beautiful stuff right here. 2,500 gold separates these teams. It is a narrow margin. And yes, ROX have better scaling than they did in the previous game. I would say that their threat's not quite as high. And that is a nice juke by Bang.
Yeah, great sidestep. And as effective as the Ash Arrows have been for Prey thus far, the effectiveness is going to diminish a little bit. Because SKT is finally getting some things to help themselves. So far, they haven't done much to help themselves. No cleanse on their mid laner, no QSS, and you're not building Mikhails on Zyra because you want to build the Andrews. Soon, Bang will have his QSS. Olaf will always be able to use his ultimate to get out of it, and Duke is becoming tanky enough to absorb it. So the number of viable targets for Prey is diminishing throughout the game.
In addition to that, they can also just use decent posturing and like making their ranks efficient. If they have people with Faker behind them, Faker can just shield whatever target gets hit. He can likely survive. Put Duke in front, put Blank in front, or a Blank rather in front, and then suddenly Bang doesn't even need to buy QSS. He can just hide in the backline.
Yeah, they have an incredibly strong front line with the Orianna. Yeah. It's very similar to what they did in Game 1 when they had the Trundle, Olaf, and Orianna. So very strong late game team fighting that SKT is extremely confident in.
SKT meanwhile have moved into the 4-1. They've taken control of the river area. There is no vision in that Baron. There is no blue trinket right now available either. They have perfect vision control. ROX is contemplating a face check, but SKT,
Ghost!
They want to get mid control first. This is step 1. They will push out mid here and then likely retreat into the area.
Equalizer's on, they want this to stun the Faker as well, and he's just gone! Gorilla gets the credit, of course, why not? 11-7, no mid laner.
The target that he had to hit! They could not just keep the tanks in front of Faker. Faker was the one who gets caught there, and this could mean a lot for ROX.
It could mean a lot. Kuro's going to stop Duke from getting away from anything. Duke's going to set up for the fight, and Kuro says, you're right, that's enough for me, that's fine. Our team has control of top jungle, let's take it over.
And if ROX didn't pull the trigger right there, they would be in an impossible scenario where SKT had mid-wave clear and complete control of Baron. That was such a good trigger.
But now it's a 5v4 at Baron without Orianna. SKT doesn't want to give it up, though. Baron low.
3,000 health. Blank's not in range. He doesn't have flash. He's going for it now. Can he get it?
Early.
No, he can't. He's just popped right away. That's a secure Baron. It should not be stolen, and it will be secured. ROX make the play perfect.
And we just have to state it time and time again. ROX, they make the perfect play, but at the right time as well. Any earlier, any later, it would have been a bad reaction, but they catch the person they have to catch in Faker. If they would allow SKT to retreat into the fog of war, it would be so hard for them to face check into this Orianna, but they just aggressively challenge this minion wave battle in the mid lane with another beautiful arrow from Prey.
Yeah, and also, Blank really should not have been running in there to try and steal that Baron, but we have to see the pick itself. Blank burned his Ghost early, and then Faker runs up away from the Make It Rain and the Equalizer as he's just getting drilled by the Ash Arrow.
Yeah, we need to look at the goal of this play. SKT was trying to control the mid wave first, and then retreat back to their Baron bait that they had so elaborately set up in the last 2 minutes. They had pink wards, they had completely swept out the vision. There was no vision for ROX. If this play failed, maybe a Hawkshot could save them, but that would have been it. What a beautiful counterplay here by ROX Tigers.
Let's see what else they can get now, because Baron buff is on. They've earned 400 gold above what the Baron itself would give them. See how much more can happen. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on this Baron buff. Plenty of time to make plays and stretch that gold lead.
And we would also be remiss if we didn't talk about Kuro's Victor, because it has almost always been his most reliable and best champion. And even though Faker's been able to get some pressure in the side lanes, when ROX have been able to get these picks, the fact that he's picked up 4 kills cannot be overlooked. Victor has tremendous late game scaling, especially when cutting through tanks, because the damage that Victor puts out in the late game is massive. So especially when he completes Death Cap, it's one of the highest AP mid laners you can get in the game, and is the biggest difference we mentioned in the team composition. You take out Karma, you add Victor, and they have much better late game scaling with which to add to this 6,000 gold lead.
Yeah, you take away of the early punch here, but you at least have a late game insurance in case he goes wrong. Stylistically, it just fits Kuro so well as a player. Relatively passive in lane, doesn't always want to push. But that's fine, ROX Tigers have been fine playing around it.
Ooh, the Shockwave puts Prey into a trap as well, and the deletion is there. Nicely played. Duke getting a bit low, but he's finding that Guardian Angel. Kuro putting a bit of damage, and actually, no, they will pop the GA. Bullet Time gets some damage. They cannot quite get blank. Then Duke revives up, but still a bit of time to play with. It's a 5v4, and even despite that, SKT's low enough that ROX continue to have control over this turret, and they knock down one with this Baron.
And that's honestly the mark of a great team, knowing that while you're a man down, you may just have the resources to still win that fight 5v4. Beautiful combo here, trap.
Yeah.
Prey off to the Shockwave.
Prey was getting pretty greedy there, trying to get hits in near those Caitlyn traps, but also he did have flash up while that Shockwave was hitting,
Yeah.
so thought he was out of range, wasn't quite, does get punished, but I agree with you, Crepo. Just the strength of ROX to know, even though they'd lost their AD carry, Shockwave was down, the rest of SKT's teamfight wasn't super threatening, and they could continue to stay in.
And that for me was one of the best things about SKT when I first started discovering them. They would be so good even in deficits, especially around early dragons, where they would lose a member, but the opposing team would use so many ultimates to get that one pick that SKT would masterfully fight out the remaining 4v5 and win. So ROX, reminiscent of that strength here in the duel, where they may finally be able to beat and best SKT in a best of 5.
And it's worth pointing out as we siege into the top
Ash
lane,
Arrow.
and Asher coming in, gonna get dodged away from. It's now just
Teleport from Duke.
top side.
And they know Ash isn't here, so they're actually going to push really hard to try and get onto Kuro here. He's got a flash.
Well, when the Kuro, he's got flash, he's got ulti, but he's not gonna burn these spells just yet. He's running out of health way too rapidly, and Blake's gonna pick him off. The shutdown is there, and Gorilla's now just putting bullets into Duke. How much can they really get? Ooh, Bullet Time does a lot. It forces flash out, and now Prey is here. Exhaust is on. One kill picked up, and Faker gets it back onto Gorilla. Smeb running out of health and gets shut down as well, but Prey, does he find the targets? Peanut has Guardian Angel. Maybe he plays frontline. How much can they really get? Prey turns it back around. Looks for bang, looks for it all. He's got one. What else can he get? It's gonna be Blake in his sights.
He's coming back.
Baker's low. How much more can they get? The stun's coming in, and it's Duke with the big play. But the turnaround from Prey, trying to get back in. The chase, the resonating strike, and the ace comes through for Peanut.
These fights are out of control this game. ROX Tigers and Prey in particular, time and time again. When you think an AD carry might go back, Prey stays in and he comes out on top.
Oh, we're in a World Tournament with so many great AD carries. Wondering who will be on top at the end. Prey is definitely making a statement here. All-Star Jet, as you pointed out, they know Ash is not here. They run at Kuro. Look at Peanut, he's waiting for Blank to get the OF ulti to timeout. That's what he's hoping for, a good kick, but he stays too close, takes some damage. The turnaround potential of MF is huge, but SKT, they survived up until this point.
And the Black Cleaver on MF actually does a lot of work right here as far as getting a lot of poke down. As Prey arrives, they instantly kill him, and then the rest of this fight is just such slim margins as SKT try to come through. The Hurricane Ash right here. Prey waits in Fog of War, gets a bunch of damage off.
Gets a bunch of damage, flashes in aggressively when he knows. Look, he's gonna track, by the way, the parallel convergence in the next phase of this play. He moves out, moves in when the Lee Sin is about to spawn to give him an option, sees parallel convergence, sidesteps out of it, goes for Faker, and then turns towards Duke. This is well played.
And then Duke and Faker, you have to threaten the higher threat target, which is going to be Prey. I think it's a misplay at the very end of that fight by Duke to go for the Lee Sin instead of Prey. That might not have been the difference, but it definitely would have helped. ROX with a huge team fight win.
That was a 2 versus 4 at the end. It was turned around. You can see plenty of damage. So that 5,000 damage Ash of Prey. Yeah, that was absolutely huge. Looking at the arrow to slow down Duke. Looking for a bit more. It's Blank on the chase, but can't find much more.
Yeah, OF ult to use. Faker's in the mid lane. We see a flank from the Victor. Faker no flash either. If he gets a slow applied to him, he's going to be a goner too.
Uh-oh.
Blank's down an ultimate, so they might try to go here.
Not a lot of tools to get away. Has to run through the equalizer. Big chunk comes out of Kuro. How much more can he find? It was SKT able to kite away and not take any more Chaos Storm damage.
A lot of big cooldowns used by ROX. They also have triple Ocean Drake, so any poke that they land onto them will be refunded, but the cooldowns are still very real for ROX Tigers, and Baron is up in 25 seconds. SKT should have time to heal up and run out here, but they will be trying to do it without vision, which makes it incredibly difficult to harass.
So if you look at SKT right now, they have such few wards into the, honestly, into their own jungle that now belongs to ROX. They have to face check essentially every single brush. They know some key cooldowns are down. They will be happy once they spot these members in the mid lane. They just use the Hawks, a very tense situation right here.
Yeah, ROX mostly recalled their team after completely warding up the top side jungle. They can use those wards to buy themselves some time. A lot of the recalls came in. They've come back in the mid lane now with a refreshed Sight Stone, and we'll see what more ROX can get as they are the team with the lead, with the ability to control the map.
And control the map, they will. Prey has been so good with the Ash Arrows, and Curl's also at a point now where he gets another angle, like we just saw. You see, he completely removes SKT from a fight. So ROX doesn't actually need to win a team fight. They just need to kill one person, and then they can actually force the Baron.
But let's go over the strengths of SKT right now. How do they win? Well, they put Duke in the side lane and have him duel. When's the last time we've seen Duke aggressively push out a side lane and threaten the map? Honestly, 20 minutes ago it feels, because ROX is keeping the map so compact, they're not allowing him. It's even Faker that just pushed out the bottom lane here. Because the immediate threat of ROX here, they just put so much pressure on every single step that SKT takes.
And that means SKT doesn't have the time to push out the side lane, and it draws them towards the Baron. Look, once again, they go straight for it. They're trying to draw SKT towards them. They're burning it down.
It's dead too fast. There is no chance for him to come in. Arrow comes through, and well, it's just gonna hit the Banshee's Veil. That's Blank losing an item passive, but who really cares? SKT shoving down mid.
SKT's trying to cut them off right here, not fearing the Baron immediately.
I mean, there's always Equalizer right here for the ROX lineup. They can always get rid of the minion waves, but they're looking for more aggression. What a beautiful Baron again by ROX. Their awareness around objectives is so impressive.
And SKT still looking to stab, hoping that maybe ROX splits up a bit. Victor's actually over the western jungle, so there's moments of a 5v4. Gorilla checking with rushes.
There's a chance that SKT would try and play around Elder Drake, but the play that SKT just tried on the ROX Tigers is getting turned around on them. They have a clear path up mid lane with Baron. They can get the inhibitor. The only way SKT stops them is fighting them from the rear.
And they can try. Kuro has to slink around the far outside. Inhibitor turret's already gone. SKT, when will they choose to go in? The front line's in place. Duke is looking for something, but he's not going to get Prey, who plays far enough back that it's not even a problem. But now, ROX's escape is through a turret if SKT can find their way in, but they cannot. ROX out with an inhibitor take clean into the top lane.
And this must be a very easy game for the observers, because with one single swoop, they can always track the entire ROX lineup. These guys are always 5 together here, combating the 4-1 nature of SKT, because they have hard CC embedded in their comp. SKT only have kind of conditional CC. It's really hard for them to target that.
They hit Arrow onto Faker. The flash chase. Peanut doesn't have enough damage. The knockups are there, but Peanut won't go down. Bang finally gets a shot, but it's only Guardian Angel down. Smeth's running out of health, and that's still not going to be a kill thanks to the heal from Prey. Nobody's dying from ROX Tigers, but it might just be that for SKT. The Chaos Storm is in. A bit more damage on a Blank. Almost gets him down, but he slinks away with about 10 HP. Still, control over this with the Ocean Drake regenning. Peanut looking for a hit Nexus turret.
And the Ocean Drake is actually insane in this push right now. They continue to push. No one on SKT has died, but ROX getting so many turrets.
Getting a lot of damage. Duke on the backside looking for the duel against Prey, running through some minions to get him more time, but he's trapped inside the minion wave. Playing so well for ROX Tigers. Guardian Angel gonna pop, but what else can he even do? And it's nothing. Peanut gets a shutdown on a rampage. 18-11 here. 11,000 gold up. ROX Tigers looking to push more.
And their ultimates will be coming up shortly. Arrow again.
Blank did not have his ulti available, but it was short enough that the stun wore off no matter what. Last Nexus turret is down. Looking to make it 2-1 in the series. ROX going for the play. Another kill comes through for Peanut. There's the Nexus, and it's 2-1 ROX Tigers. They are 1 game away from breaking the curse.
What a game, honestly. Again, the Ashe Zyra being the pivotal 2 champions in this draft here, and allowing also Peanut to just play his game. Again, he arrives early in the bot lane, combining that Ashe Arrow with some pressure. The second that tier 1 falls in the bot lane, you could see immediately how much more pressure the Tigers have on the map.
Yeah, and I love the way that the Tigers closed out this game. They actually seemed to be a lot cleaner than in game 2. Prey consistently landed those Ash arrows, and they have some swagger now.
Yeah, look at Pina. He's just jumping down. He's basically gesturing towards the crowd. One more game. It's a dangerous thing to do. Yeah, I've done it twice. I've lost the one more game multiple times as well, so I really hope it doesn't happen for Peanut, but they have confidence right now.
And ROX Tigers have fallen in the last 3 best-of-5s they played against SKT. Never have they had 2 wins up in the series.
They've only had 2 wins in total.
Yeah, and now they have 4. So they've doubled it in this series alone. So you can see how they feel like they're kind of overcoming a demon that has been plaguing them for so long. With play like the way Peanut's been doing, the way Prey and Gorilla have seemed to kind of solve this bottom lane with the pick after pick, SKT have to change things up in this next one because they tried round 2 of the Misfortune lane. They lost again. They have to change.
And the problem against these Ash arrows, you can't even draft like a Morgana because it's just too weak in lane. So you need to get rid of, honestly, either that pick or we may see the return of the Tom Kench because that way you can position in a lane where suddenly you play behind your AD carry, he has pressure, maybe gets the early QSS. If he gets hit, suddenly you devour him, walk the way out. Poke doesn't really work that well because you got to go to Grey Health. That could be a solution, but definitely you will see Koma react to this pick in the bottom lane. There's no way they're getting Ashe Zyra without a plan from SKT.
Yeah, it was funny. They thought they had the plan in the previous one. Let's just pick Caitlyn instead of Ezreal, hope it works out. That obviously was not the case. Maybe you see something like a Sivir who can spell shield, but of course it makes the laning matchup worse.
Yeah,
and
horrible versus Ashe. Yeah.
Of course, and of course there's a lot going on as well overall, right? You've got the top lane matchup being very interesting. Peanut being super aggressive and finding all these openings and making these super sick plays with the kick flashes and getting all these awesome kills, the highlight reels. Either way, it's just been a phenomenal series to be a part of so far, and we will have 1 or 2 more games. So for now, we're going to...
You can just ban.
You first ban Misfortune. Of course you first ban Misfortune. It's against ROX Tigers. You have to do this.
Yeah, now the question is they probably still ban Aurelion Sol, and potentially they ban Jace as well, with the Jhin ban being what they drop. That will leave Ashe open if they decide to do that, or maybe they let Faker play into Aurelion Sol if they think ROX is going to early pick it, because that also stops ROX from being able to get a mid lane counter pick for Kuro. A lot of different strategies that Koma could take here.
Definitely. I expect Aurelion Sol to kind of just go out the window, especially now that Ryze and Syndra are out as well. Faker doesn't have a history of playing it. It's just you don't want to introduce such a large variable at this point in the game. If SKT was 2-1 up, I could actually see them leaving it open.
And yet another mid lane ban from ROX Tigers, making sure Faker can't play Cassiopeia. I like that tweak because he's been super good at it. The question is now, Nidalee was unbanned.
Yeah.
So Bengi, unless they want to give it over to Peanut, has to play the Nidalee.
And he has to perform. We haven't seen this champion really go off in this tournament because it's been banned so often.
And 2 of the losses that ROX Tigers had in the group stage were to Nidalee. They lost to CLG and Albus Nox playing this champion.
And it gives Ashe Zyra straight over to ROX Tigers. They're probably going to play Caitlyn Karma against it. But it's so interesting, too, because you wonder, how has Bengi been able to train as Nidalee? He didn't play it during the regular season. He's not known as a Nidalee player. You can't practice the champion in solo queue because it's permabanned there as well. So they would have had to be playing a lot of, or some scrims with Bengi on Nidalee to try and train this up to a point where they're confident first picking it in what could be an elimination game at Worlds.
Yeah, but it's a good jungler to play into 2 low mobility targets still. Nidalee, spears are sidesteppable, but having another gap closer gives you the security to go for that play. An early gank plus a curtain call could just guarantee these spears hitting. It's just so hard to eliminate these options. And again, this is a combination down bottom that can vastly outrange the Zyra if she wants to get picked off right there. So that is the counter to that.
Yeah, and it also depends how much SKT want to mix this up. Faker has played a decent amount of Karma in the mid lane, and they can easily flex that there for him as well. And it's not just that Bengi isn't necessarily capable of playing Nidalee, but it also doesn't fit SKT's style very well, where their solo lanes are such heavy farms. So a big change. I cannot emphasize enough how different this SKT team will look coming into this game 4.
Wow, and the early Victor pickup. We're going to see another Victor Orianna matchup, so likely leaving the top lane pick for last because their bot lane's been performing so well. Victor is a fine champion in a very pinched mid lane meta, which means you can give Smeb what he wants, which is the counter pick top lane.
Yeah, and just based on the way this draft phase is going, Crepo, it definitely feels like SKT have been backed into a corner. ROX has played this series so well. They forced the Misfortune ban. They completely changed what SKT has done. Blank wasn't playing well. They have to sub back in Bengi. While they're on blue side, they're forced into a first pick in Italy. All these things are things that SKT, you feel like they almost have to do, and it's going to be really hard for them to fight their way out.
But at the same time, SKT's drafts have always been at least fine. The gameplay is what mattered the most here. A lot of these plays were technically avoidable, counterable, but there was no initiative on the side of SKT.
Yeah, they've been the victims of many attacks by the ROX Tigers, but you also look at the way, even if their drafts have been fine, look at all the changes they are making. So clearly SKT thinks they need to make large adjustments in this phase of the game, and this is a pretty massive departure from what we've seen from them thus far.
I like it though. I like Zilean especially. It just fits stylistically against an Ashe. Targets gets picked off, you revive it. You have a weak early laner in Victor, should probably get pushed in by the Zilean in that matchup. You have just a block in the top lane, the Gnar. When all else fails, just pick Gnar again. Make sure he gets into the game, speed him up in the team fights. At least you have some crown control effects there because you're playing with a jungler that is purely damage focused and doesn't have CC.
And the hover right now is on the Rumble here. 30 seconds to go until that one times out here. It just feels like time and again, ROX get everything they could want, and as the team is playing better, this feels good for them to close this out.
I almost want to see a Poppy here, just into the Gnar for Smeb, but he feels like he just wants to be more of a damage threat.
Too bad, Crapo. He's going Rumble. That once again.
Sucks for me. But yeah, he has the, if he does the same thing he did in the last few games, which is switch up the lanes he goes to, doesn't use his teleport, just goes to the lane immediately, plays around enemy teleport advantage very well, uses Fog of War, then I'm so happy with this Rumble pick because I want to see more great Smeb plays.
And I'm really excited as well for the jungle matchup overall. It's funny because we keep casting this Nidalee in a negative light because we haven't seen Bengi perform on it, but this is the only champion at Worlds 2016's 100% pick band. Every single team respects this champion, and if Bengi can show up on it with SKT's backs against the wall, that's huge.
And the first 4 levels are so important to follow because Olaf is actually relatively predictable in the jungle. And he goes super low on mana, so if anything goes wrong, his clear is disrupted to an extreme degree, which is honestly puts the onus of this game onto Bengi. He can single-handedly destroy ROX's early game and have SKT play their comfortable even into the mid-game style.
And Bengi has been nothing if he has not been clutch at big moments in international stages. SKT and every world championship they have attended, they have won. They have never lost a best of 5 at Worlds. They are pushed from one game towards elimination. Bengi subs back in, having won the first game, and he gets put on a first pick in Italy. This is when Bengi has to step up to save SKT.
And SKT has done this before. I've seen SKT backs against the wall in a best of 5 and pulling it out in the end anyway. This could be the last game of the night, or if Bengi has anything to say, we go to a game 5. Summoner's Cup, the chance in the finals on the line here. SK Telecom T1 versus ROX Tigers, game 4. Here we go.
All right, let's track it here. Very condensed ROX lineup, looking for a potential face check punish. SKT very spread here. If somebody tries to challenge River Vision, a single axe could blow Faker's flash here. Ah. Or it could not.
Left. They thought he would be waiting in the brush. Faker was waiting in plain sight, but they didn't have the reveal because they wanted to throw the axe from around the corner. Dangerous scout. Get away with it.
But they lose. Ooh. I actually don't like that play because you should fan out, especially when you're playing against an Italy. Giving early information in your jungle. We've seen what Korean teams can do with a single ward, a single sliver of information, especially against a relatively predictable jungle like Olaf.
Absolutely agree. You had champions like Elise and Lee Sin earlier who can jump over walls and hide around. Olaf has no such tricks. He walks in a straight line and...
Oh, and they're unaware of the ward, because look, Smeb's going to go for a fake leash, it seems. Or is he just warding? It looked like he was setting up for the fake leash.
He dropped a late trinket.
But he saw the ward being put down. So what they're going to do is actually they're going to start the Olaf on the bottom side of the map and leave that ward right there so the Nidalee can't go for the creative red buff steal on level 2.
And they placed it late enough that even if Bengi does go for it, theoretically Peanut would have time to run down and just trade the buffs in that fashion. So a lot of mind games going on early.
Oh, and Faker for the early
starts at the Raptors. That's clever, knowing they have the red buff. Started knowing that he's going to start blue. Gets one minion, doesn't lose any in lane.
Time Bomb and the 3 autos should give him level 2 at the end of the first wave, but it'll also prevent certain jungle patterns from Peanut from hitting level 3 either. He'll have to go to his red buff or his Braum.
Correct, because a lot of the 3-path jungle rushes do include the Raptors, and this means if his third camp is the Raptors, he wouldn't be level 3 off of it because of that single minion being stolen.
The see what else can happen here. Bengi, 2 camps in so far. Gromp into blue buff, got a partial leash from Duke, and Peanut should have been communicated that the Raptors were gone, so he will stay and do a more power farming focused route. All 3 camps on the same side of his jungle. He'll walk over top side later, and he, I believe, never gets spotted by a ward doing this, so there's no guarantee that SKT knows exactly what camp he's on.
But they knew he started without a leash, which means they can actually extrapolate that he likely is going to be very low after his first clear.
Yeah, and probably started blue buff to be able to secure that.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the jungle mind games going on as well, you still have to pay attention to the mechanics of the lane. And bottom lane right there, Bang had a great step forward off of one of the Zyra E's and was able to get a very positive trade.
Look at Peanut though, he passed by mid lane, avoids his own jungle. He doesn't know where Nidalee is. If he gets contested on that Scuttle Crab that he's playing right now, he is gonna go down. So this is a little bold. Even though these guys are separate parts of the map, we have to look at what the information is present to the teams, not to us.
Yeah, and this is my thought on Peanut's decision-making process. He knows that they late warded a spot that was warded by SKT. So that means SKT is expecting that Peanut's going to do a generally normal clear, so he's just making an educated guess that Bengi probably wouldn't invade based off a ward. And now, because he didn't get caught, he knows that Bengi would have done a full clear. These are all the things you have to somehow track in your head while you're laning at the highest level.
In addition to that, he secures the entrances to his jungle first before he goes to clear them. Which means if he gets contested, at least he can spot the Nidalee coming in early. God forbid she's in the jungle already, at least he got a Scuttle Crab for his troubles.
Yeah, Bengi right now was about a full camp ahead. At this point, it's going to be an equal trade overall. Every single jungler took 6 camps and a Scuttle Crab now, so they're a bit equal, but Bengi's the first to make a bit of a move. You can see a slightly deep Trinket ward that won't always spot anything, but it is going to be the double bomb and a Kuro, and he's got a flash. That was a crucial flash. He probably would have died if that javelin landed.
Look at them. Ooh, Gorilla.
A lot of damage on him, but they know there's no auto attack left for Bang. He's going to trade back in with Prey. Exhaust was already burned. Wolf stays in for a nice chunk of damage as well. The flash! Ooh, if an auto attack lands, he was dead.
The spear through the minions.
Bengi is not going to get it, but it's still dangerous. ROX have very little to do here.
Peanut is coming. Bengi is very afraid of Fog of War here. One more try!
Oh, he had to flash to get away from that one, and that just means a quick jump over from Bengi. That is a loss of summoners for ROX Tigers.
Wow, and with the snowball effect of some of these early jungle matchups, that could have had such a huge impact on the game. It does get both flashes there out of the ROX Tigers in the extended engagement.
All right, Bengi is not going for a play on mid lane. He's going to wait for Peanut. He's going to challenge him on the Wolves. He actually hides out of vision here. Watch him walk in right now. He's going to contest that camp.
Pretty dangerous. He
Look at
knows
Peanut
the
pull it out.
on Kuro.
The mind games here, they know they can get spotted here.
They're going for Kuro.
Double bomb on a Kuro. Javelin's going to land this time, and he's going to get the damage. Yes, he is. First blood in for Faker. Over the wall goes Bengi, and so far, so good for the first pick Nidalee. The chase is still on, but hops over the wall, and Peanut gets nothing done.
Now we got to question Kuro in this matchup. You cannot afford to get double bombed twice in a row. It is possible to sidestep them. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's versus Faker, but getting hit twice by those skill shots in a row costs ROX the early lead.
One constant in this series has been Faker being able to outplay Kuro early on in the laning phase, and picking the Zillion is a very skill-reliant champion both as and against. And Bengi, it looked like he was feigning to go at Peanut, but with the double bomb, makes the spear automatic. Even though he sees Peanut, Bengi knows he has flash, autos after the execute, flashes, jumps, able to dodge the X, just the play they needed to make.
Yeah, and that's Kuro getting in slow range against the Zillion, which means you're under auto attack range right there. Trying to telegraph that he's going for the minions right there. Should have probably just sacked the CS. Did not expect Bengi to be around, because Bengi, unlike Peanut, is willing to waste a lot of time, or spend a lot of time rather, going for a setup. Peanut is such a high tempo jungler, he will at most wait 5, 6, 7 seconds for a play, then move on. Bengi was camping there for quite a while, just outside the edges of vision.
Which is extremely peculiar when you consider a Nidalee pick, who is usually all about the efficiency and being 10 and 20 CS up on the opponent.
Yeah, look how he pops his Ghost early. He does not want to get in slow range of Faker, because the second Faker slows him, he almost but guarantees the double bomb.
There's so much risk, though, right now. Faker, level 6, has the ulti. Any turret dive is almost no risk if Peanut's not there, and Peanut himself practically out of mana. Probably won't have much to say if a dive does happen. Kuro just barely level 5 right now.
Kuro, seeing the one bomb was on the minions, positions himself against the turret, meaning he's definitely going to get hit by the next bomb. It's a very contentious mid lane right now. Bengi, though, actually getting out-leveled by Peanut, so power farming on Olaf. He is one of the few junglers that can keep up with Nidalee's speed of farm.
Definitely can, but Bengi is taking a team player approach. He went for pressure in the bot lane. Guess what? A little CS lead here and pushing lanes. There's vision, there's control. SKT is much more happy to give up the slight CS lead in the jungle to get control of the game. If they can rob this blue buff away from both Olaf and Victor, it's a big hit to ROX's economy.
And he's just going to take the loop for himself, while the ROX lanes are none the wiser because the ward smattering doesn't actually catch him. Great timing.
And now he keeps him just locked up. Allow the lanes to thrive right now, winning mid, winning bot. Even the Gnar is going even in terms of push versus Med, but if you then look at the CS count, that's a whole different matchup.
Yeah, let's kind of recap the game overall. We've been focusing very heavily on what Faker and Bengi have been doing, and to their credit, it's been really good. You've got a moderate lead in the bot lane, Bang up 9 right now over Prey, but this top lane matchup is plus 22. Smeb is single-handedly keeping the gold remotely close. Arrow lands on the Bang, but is there any meaningful follow-up? Not really. A root on a wolf, and it's a fair bit of damage, but now it's Faker joining in, finding the double bomb on a Prey. The curtain call is there, and Peanut's going to block it, so that's going to be all right for them. It is a TP out of Faker, the ghost out of Peanut showing up.
Very surprised that they actually decided to commit to that teleport, not cancel Faker out there. Just his breathing room for Kuro in the mid lane. Just want to touch back to that Smeb point. Because these junglers have constantly been revealing each other, obviously top was a free playground for Smeb to continuously push in on that Rumble.
Yeah, and when Rumble doesn't have to fear jungle ganks, he will shove in almost all of their top laners. But to talk about the bottom lane again, I'm a little surprised that once again, SKT gets hit by the Ash Arrow exactly on level 6. Like, how many times does that play have to happen? But because they have the double TP, they have the luxury of burning it, so to speak, out of Faker. He loses pressure on the mid lane, but he does harass the bottom lane and prevent a kill.
But this is also part of that teleport. These plays that cannot be evaluated in the vacuum. You got to look at the kind of minute span that happens right after. They lose the red buff, and right now, there's pressure.
And you can see all this damage now onto this bottom turret. ROX Tigers
too.
Heavily playing around their bottom lane. Smeb's quietly winning in the top lane, but all the pressure is down here in the 2-on-2. And despite the earlier farm deficit, look at all the damage ROX is getting on the turret itself. Peanut, nice juke on the Deadly Flourish. Gonna get rooted up by a wolf, but look at the damage they can do thanks to Zyra on this poor Karma. And if Peanut can hit it, that red buff affects turrets. Look at the damage he's got on that.
Yeah, they're 3/4 of the turret. They might actually finish it unless Duke teleports down, which he doesn't want to do. This lane pressure is immense from ROX Tigers.
And there's a reason ROX is this confident, because in the mid lane, Kuro saw Faker run back into mid with blue buff. Guess how he got it?
Handoff.
Handoff, which means jungle's on the other side of the map here. ROX have shown a continuous priority for the tier 1 tower in the bot lane, and they've succeeded the last 3 games in a row, and it's really was propelling them forward in the mid game, because now again they can unlock this Ash for more arrows.
And that's going to be flash out of Bang for that one. The
teleport
coming up already.
Flash.
Here we go. What's going to happen?
By Duke.
Summoner heal just to run away a bit faster, but Equalizer is perfect, and Bang has nowhere to go. But Bangi's around as well. All of SKT now flooding into the bottom lane through the Tri-Brush. This is going to be a bit of a close fight. No root's going to land, but a lot of slows coming out. Now the snipes looking towards Prey, looking towards Gorilla. How much can be landed? One shot comes through. How much more can even happen? And he weaves it through him. That's a kill. Smeb is next up. Summoner heal is in. The chase through for Bangi. And it's going to be another Javelin. Will he chase in? No. Deadly Flourish blocked by the one person who wasn't attacked, and Prey keeps his team from being rooted. But that is another kill for SKT.
Kuro was much slower than Faker, so halfway through the play, he turned around, he went back to the mid lane. That's when ROX decided to retreat. That's why they let Zyra take that last bullet as well, because she was dead in the water anyways. ROX trying to cut their losses.
Yeah, but a much different and more proactive SKT is what we're seeing in this game. They make the mistake of being too obvious about their blue handoff to Faker, and they lose a turret, but very quickly they react to trying to send everyone to the bottom lane after ROX tried to make the teleport play.
But also one of these plays where ROX, they make a play, it fails, and they keep going on. And this is one of these plays where if they don't go for this teleport, they actually win out on the map hugely. But they match TP for TP. They don't follow up on Equalizer. Honestly, they should be able to respect that Faker is here much faster than Kuro. This is, from a strategic point of view, a misplay from ROX. We cannot understate that SKT did the right thing in reacting, but still, if you play.
You're right, it is another reactive play here by SKT, but they have the ability to roam much better with the double TP and the Zillion. Now they have Smeb slowed with no flash.
Even more. Root into goodbye. Smeb running out of health. That'll be an easy one picked up. Bang! Gonna secure the last hit. 2 of 3 of SKT's kills are on the 80 carry. Looking pretty good. 700 gold in the mid game.
All right, there's your proactive play from SKT, and they need to be able to play at this level, being up 3 kills with the Zillion, Karma, Jhin, and the Nidalee. Like, they really do need to start snowballing this game and be able to get to a point where they can just close on to Prey and Gorilla.
We might see even more of that. Talking about some of the gold leads here, the gap has closed in the top lane. You're seeing 86 to 90 up there. So props to Duke for making all that happen. And kind of everywhere on the map, it's a very tight game. Turrets one apiece. ROX Tigers still down despite getting first turret hold.
And the crowd here rallying behind both these teams, honestly.
Dueling support between the fans right here. And this series has really delivered on almost every level, and it's not even over yet, especially if SKT could turn this into a fifth game. We know the ROX Tigers need to conquer SKT. They thought they'd have a chance to do it in the summer split. Then SKT went ahead and lost to KT Rolster. So even though ROX won Korea, they didn't actually go through SKT. And now they do have an opportunity to take them down 3-1 if they're able to win this game.
And because it's so even, ROX can't do their favorite gameplay pattern here. They can't just swap in Prey into the mid lane. He is pushing out though. Usually when Prey does this, he pushes out bot lane until he no longer feels safe, goes into Fog of War behind mid and looks for an arrow. But he is obviously playing against a Zilean with both a built-in speed boost as well as a revive if things go a little sour.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about the Tom Kench being a potential pick against the Ashe. The Zilean is also a good pick against the Ashe, unless Zilean is the one who gets hit by the arrow. And Karma can help with the speed too.
Like they saw him coming and they were still so close to getting hit by this arrow because Prey, he just shoots them off so perfectly. He passed 2 wards and he still got within an inch of hitting right there.
Yeah, always a lot to watch for. Of course, the Victor in the mid lane can blow you up if you're not paying attention to that. The arrow as well, and hey, even Wolf paying attention, of course, the haste helping for sure. Quick clear in the mid lane, it's SKT with the first play on this one. ROX will be wave clearing second.
And I wonder where Prey is going. Maybe he surprises top by moving behind the Rumble, and ROX go for what they've always been doing, switching up, going for another tier 1 turret, but there is still a dragon that's available in the bot side that's drawing them back to the southern part of the map.
Yeah, and notice how open the map actually is right now. Both teams have cleared the bottom turret, and there's a lot of mutual respect for the power of these teams. Notice how few deep wards there are for both teams. They kind of have the river and their own side of the jungle warded, but nothing beyond that. So it's very difficult to actually make intelligent plays forward, and instead they're almost relying on an Ashe Arrow or some type of setup at the Drake.
Yeah, it's always difficult when teams control their own side of the map so well. You have to rely on some level of guesswork, and we know ROX are happy to play around guessing. We know they're happy to take these chancy plays. Hopefully they don't get double slapped for this.
And you can see that they're trying to decide it together right now. They pinged the bot wave, they sent Victor there, half a screen away, and then Kura turned around and like, nah, actually, I don't really want to go bot lane right now. Let's just share a wave and farm. So things are no longer just mapped out minutes ahead. Both these teams are stuck in a state of flux, continuously reacting to what they see, but there's so much more that they don't see because there is no deep vision.
You're seeing them just trade back and forth, mostly playing around clearing the waves, putting them up to the turret and saying, can we get to the side? Can we get to the mouth of the river? Maybe a little bit here, and it goes away. You see Faker killing wards over this pink ward that's been placed down. That little bit of the river is theirs, and well, they've got this part of the river as well, clearing out this ward that Gorilla just put down.
And this time, SKT's AD carry actually has pick potential himself. It's not an Ashe Arrow, but a Curtain Call played well, combined with Deadly Flourish, essentially can do the same thing.
Yeah, not to mention he has the Ghostblade Power Spike right now before Prey can complete the Essence Reaver. They do have a pretty powerful moment right now, but Peanut starts the Drake while Bengi is in base.
Bengi had finished the
SKT should open up
recall.
with Curtain Call here, try and push them off.
But there's no one there to really help them fight. Then Nidalee's not there to do battle. The rest could TP in. I think SKT understand they couldn't have really fought for that.
And look where Faker was. He was like meandering around the red buff. Another arrow goes.
He juked back into it. Bang actually turned back down. The chain CC is there, but Bang is able to flash away, but that is Summoners down. Now the reopen up onto Gorilla, but Peanut's going to tank the shots, and he's like, yeah, go ahead, shoot at me, I don't care, and the last one gets juked out.
I'm telling you, man, this guy, he knows exactly how you're going to juke, and even that you know that he knows, you still get hit.
He got sped up by Karma too, and he couldn't figure out exactly where to go. Also, that play was set up though because of the one deep pink ward that ROX has had in SKT's jungle for a while now. Faker was meandering. Oh, they actually catch Prey.
The Deadly Flourish is there. Ashe arrows are nice, but the root's good as well. He's got Bangy to help sick him down. Now, how good is the chase going to be? Undertow's going to miss, and the equalizer. Not how I would have aimed it myself. It should have been
a little bit.
90 degrees counterclockwise. Might have been the counter engage they needed.
Yeah, that wasn't a great equalizer. But it's Smeb. There's one top lane in Rumble that I will forgive. A little bit of an oopsie. It is Smeb. But yeah, ROX right now, they're being matched by SKT. Not only are they being matched, SKT is 1,000 gold ahead.
Ooh, now Peanut's in a bit of danger. No flash, or no ghost, I should say, for him. It was already down. He's able to run away. Red Smite's just to lower the damage output that Duke would have had on him.
A little shake up here too. Bengi looking to join Faker on the bot lane, maybe surprising Prey. Prey kept this flash though. Very important. But the zone from bombs might be enough to get some chip damage, or at least a rotation mid maybe. SKT changing up the laning patterns here themselves.
Yeah, Faker's also been roaming a lot this game, so Kuro's ahead of him in CS despite having the early death in the mid lane, which will be a boon for ROX in the late game if Kuro's able to hit those big item power spikes. And for now, it's still a very even game, but with that roam, SKT didn't get chip damage. They did get some very powerful wards within the jungle of ROX.
Yeah, but they're waiting for picks again here. It's honestly that first TP that Faker did that just didn't quite hit the mark. It gave Kuro enough breathing room. Aggressively contesting blue buffs though. Very aware of the timers. Faker eventually gets it.
Yeah, really stealing a lot away, and to keep in mind, this is still a 1,500 gold lead for SK Telecom T1. Their persistent team fight damage later in the game isn't incredibly high, whereas ROX Tigers have a whole bunch of damage threats. Zillion tapers off damage-wise pretty quickly, but so far it is still SKT controlling, and every team that has held an early game lead has been able to close it out so far this series. We know these top-level teams are so good at playing with the lead and never letting someone back in.
But SKT have put ROX in, honestly, a good chokehold here, because nobody can really deal with Faker in the side lane. Faker is much more mobile if he wants to leave. In addition to that, he also has teleport. So if they can actually keep Kuro locked down in the bot lane, receiving the push from Faker, and this doesn't happen, then SKT is good. SKT want to keep these lane matchup, but they have to keep dodging the arrows, and that's the hardest part. If they do that, though, Faker can continuously pressure out the bot lane.
And it gives them more and more time to try and set up plays. Because if Victor's not in the team fight is very weak for the ROX Tigers. And there's a lot of targets that can be picked off at this stage in the game. Most namely, you talk about the Zyra and the Ashe.
Also, if the Victor has to trail into team fight late, he's going to run into potential pick attempts here by a sped up Faker. Max range from the mid lane. Bang with the current call. He can influence both top and bot lane. That's why you really want to have that Jhin in the mid lane. And there's still that ward. Look, Bang spotted again.
For all the incredible plays that these guys have pulled off and all the praise we've given them, you have to check that brush for the pink ward. It's going back earliest things when you're in a jungle.
You heard you, Jet. Nope, he's going for wrap up.
He hasn't been smiting the Raptors, so it's also not giving him the notification when he's close to it. And that is just giving so much knowledge to the ROX Tigers.
We know exactly where Nidalee is, which means Peanut can hard commit for this gank. No risk of counter ganks here.
He's tried so many times to come up to this lane, actually. It's the third time I've seen him on the screen up there in the last 3 minutes or so trying to make it happen. Bangy just takes away half his camps, and Duke kills a ward away and says, yeah, nice try, buddy. Looking at one more chance in this one. Axe gonna land, and Duke seems impervious to this pressure.
It's honestly also because it's both in choice to go for the lane, but also because there is no other option. It's so hard to gank mid lane with so much vision around here. You're not really going to gank a Faker in a long lane on the Zillion, so your only option is to either farm, which he does, and then linger around top lane, maybe at least preventing a gank from Bang.
Yeah, and we may be in that situation from ROX Tigers where unless they land a beautiful Ashe arrow to engage, we just don't see them making any proactive plays because they don't have the team composition to do it, especially against all of the mobility that SKT has early on in this game.
Like we're maybe headed towards catastrophic team fight the game as it's slowed down a little bit here. Only one turret per team 20 minutes in. ROX Tigers have been held kill-less so far 20 minutes in. That's nearly a record in itself. They normally get so much more done here at this point.
The next Mountain Drake spawns in a mid though, and with that being a very valued dragon for both these teams, that may be a catalyst that this game so desperately requires.
I agree with you there, and even though SKT did have some good warding in the blue buff area of the ROX Tigers, that's been cleared out. And there's still that pesky little pink ward that Peanut placed many minutes ago.
It's actually a great TP ward. If you make them retreat from Dragon into their own jungle somehow, that can be very surprising.
Yeah, and I wonder where SKT's going to divert their pressure. ROX have been the kings of the Dragon so far in this series by getting it again and again. And about the 5th gank the Peanut sent up the top lane. Maybe he reaches Duke this time. Faker's on the way.
This looks quite a bit better. The slows are still there, but suddenly the fact that Faker could revive means nothing to be had. Oh, what a great zone used by Smeb. Getting away from it all, and the bombs aren't going to land either. But the turret's so low, and Bangy wants to dive. He's got one, and SKT are breaking this one apart now. Faker knocked around in front of the turret, does not get up to burn the ult. He's getting low and just never casts it.
He doesn't respect the Zyra damage, misses his self-ultimate.
And now it could be dangerous. Wolf's gonna die in a couple more shots. Oh, it's gonna be enough there. The Bangy shuts him out anyway. And that is 2 for 1, favor of SKT. ROX finally get a kill 21 minutes in, later than they would have liked.
And what a crazy engagement. The Zhonya is perfectly timed by Smeb, but Bangy coming in to save the fight. His Nidalee has been pretty good considering he's never played it competitively. So some big moments coming in from SKT here. and they get a little bit smaller of a lead in this game.
Honestly, super cool game mechanics there too. After the Zonias, so what you have to know is that after Zonias, if you place 2 bombs, it will instant trigger on Smeb. So the fact that Peanut actually picks up the bomb after the Zonias in a little bit is quite peculiar because it allows Smeb to then flash out. That's what happens here. Smeb reads the flash beautifully. Then the first bomb comes out, he goes to the Peanut, and that means no double stun on the Smeb. It's like the little things, but then the same bomb ends up killing him anyways.
And that's the cute finish right there. But then Faker right here, a bunch of minions. He bombs the minions, doesn't ult himself, didn't want to be reviving the turret, but you definitely don't want to die, so a big misplay by him right there. And they're fighting over that Mountain Drake right now.
And it's SKT who seem to be the ones with control. Ward in the pit, everything they could possibly need, it feels like. And SKT will answer Mountain Drake for Mountain Drake. 2,500 gold separating both the squads, and that's secure by Bengi.
It's so important that you get a lead with Zillion too. He's one of those champions that plays so well once you're slightly ahead because you can snowball and accelerate, but come too far behind, Zillion kind of becomes useless. And we see SKT playing to their strengths, push up mid lane, just roam to a different lane, surprise people with that speed up in River. If they don't have perfect vision control, it's quite unpredictable where exactly the Zillion pick is.
Always going to be scary. Asher not going to land this time either. SKT doing a generally better job of juking. ROX only found 1 kill so far this game. And that's mid lane turret going down. SKT all 3 outers now.
Also the difference in the Karma versus the Zyra. Zyra gets hit by every arrow. Karma can Master Shield the entire team. Everybody gets a speed boost. Everybody gets to dodge the arrow.
Not to mention the 5 ranged champions that SKT have in this game. They're really keeping their distance from the ROX Tigers, and that's going to make it really difficult for Peanut to be able to make it into these fights unless Prey can land that perfect Ash arrow, which as SKT is getting a little bit more familiar with it and also have the higher mobility team with the speed boost from the Zillion and the Karma, are dodging them at a much higher rate. They still haven't brought in Cleanse or QSSs or Mikhails, but they are juking the arrows.
And in my mind, though, as you're talking about all of this, if I'm SKT, I'm still afraid of a 5-on-5. I just feel like there's so much damage on ROX Tigers that a proper team fight could be so scary, but SKT are manipulating around that so well.
Exactly, and that's part of having the 5 range champions as well as all of the mobility control with the hastes they can get from the Zillion and the Karma. Because I agree, they don't want to just dive into the ROX Tigers, but they do want to poke them and have long, extended fights.
And honestly, the way to do that is 1-3-1 and then go for like really collapsing on the side. Here again, Prey hits a trap, immediate reaction.
Arrows him.
That's obviously very easy to do. There's Bengi.
Bengi back in onto Prey. A lot of health going down on him. Has to flash away from that one. Gets away from the deadly flourish. But that is a flash down of the low mobility ROX Tigers AD carry.
No mobility right now. No flash, no heal.
Just his legs. Got to do it the old-fashioned way.
Boots of swiftness. Got the speed.
Great.
Both ADs go that way.
Hurricane move speed 5%, I think. But yeah, comparatively, when there's a Zillion buffed, like Gnar hopping over you, flashing over minions, like, yeah, Prey's probably dead next team fight.
Yeah, better not skip leg day if you're Prey right now. Or stall out. Look for the next arrow. Honestly, that's it for ROX. That's the cadence of their aggression. It is every single arrow.
I agree with you there. He had to use it defensively, essentially, against the Jhin right there, because we're not too far removed from the Jhin and Ashe meta where you would just pick both of these AD carries because they have the utility and they can just kind of team fight each other from 3,000 range. The 1-3-1 is being set up by SKT, as you mentioned there, Crepo. Gnar pushing pretty heavily on the bottom side. Mercury treads enough defense right now to deal with Smeb because he has so much damage threat with the Frozen Mallet and the Black Cleaver. And then Faker with Teleport very safely continuing the shove on the top side.
Yeah, Smeb opting into a little bit defensive build as well here, so he doesn't have the raw damage to just kind of all in Dukes. Duke should be fine right now in that matchup. SKT keeping the map big is really good for them because they can really leverage the 2 teleports that they bring to the table. Nobody from ROX wants to play in the top lane right now. Basically, looking for the shorter straw. If it is the Ashe or the Victor pick that has to go there, the second they send somebody top, that's when SKT can start positioning around the map, you know, sliding a few wards into the enemy jungle, and then leveraging the fact that they have the double teleport.
But there's also the ever-present danger when SKT is in a 1-3-1 with no QSSs, no cleanses, and no Mikhails, because if ROX lands the arrow in the mid lane on the 3, they can wipe them and take a bunch of interior turrets.
Quick root into Peanut, landing some of the skill shots as well, but the count isn't going to land. And left he goes. One last shot lands. He's a bit low.
That third shot would have landed, Peanut would be dead.
That's true. One more would have gotten him. He would have had to juke something else.
Well,
but
Gorilla wants to flank here, but he gets spotted by Bengi. Good spot by Bengi
again anyway. A quick root on Gorilla. Goodbye. look for the harass, got hit in return, and now the double bomb forcing the flash of Kuro, the stun and a Faker, not gonna matter, because he already had the ulti off the time. And Bangy again, now the double kill, the flash heal for Bang to turn it around, but look at the trade damage, Ray running for dear life, and he will in fact get away with it. 2 for 1 still, advantage SKT.
SKT believes so much in their god and savior Bangy that their AD carry is willing to flash in just to heal him. Straight into an equalizer.
Yep. They had gotten so many positive things because Bangy was going off right there, but sometimes you need to know when to let your Nidalee die, and Bang uses both of his defensive summoner spells to go in, falls back. Faker had already ulted himself into the turret, and when they did that, they lose their pressure on the mid lane, so they don't actually get to convert on the nice play they made to kill Gorilla.
First of all, great presence of mind for SKT to scout at that brush, because if Wolf was allowed to flash ER in, would have been a win. Great from Kuro as well, dodging the second bomb at least, but then Bangy aggressively moves in, tries to kill Pang here.
The turret was on him when he flashed forward as well, because Faker had been reviving from the Zillion ultimate. A dangerous move there, and the gold lead actually doesn't extend for SKT.
Yeah, thanks to Smeb turning it around with the equalizer that would have otherwise, I think, had Frey dead immediately and was a quarter second away from actually getting the kill onto Bangy anyway. Got so low out of the equalizer. Very tight timings here. 3,500 gold still puts SKT ahead. They've actually held this lead at, I want to say, very similar numbers. It's grown slightly over time, but ROX are playing from behind pretty tight here. Faker gonna find Peanut, or vice versa, and Faker decides to go away.
And right now for SKT, they're not looking for tangible gold leads, honestly. They're looking for good vision control in the enemy red jungle. That is their main objective if they can somehow acquire it through the 1v1. Because that could unlock a potential Baron attempt. Another arrow goes out.
Land, good dodge by Bangy.
Yeah.
One thing I'm surprised by is that Frey is going for a second Zeal item instead of going for the Infinity Edge. It is a huge damage bump to finish that item, and instead he's going for the more attack speed focused one. Really gonna get attacked once. Bangy a bit low as well, and really just sits there, grins and bears it, and it's Bangy who gets shut down, and no one was in range to help him out with that one.
Faker was off in the top lane, and Bangy was trying to go hero mode. Another kind of big mistake there after playing so clutch for so much of this game. Twice overextends, this time he falls.
Setup looked so good for SKT. They had 1-3-1 going. Arrow was on cooldown. All they had to do was just keep pushing the side lanes. Their point of advance was basically having somebody match Faker and Faker peel off. Instead, they pulled the trigger too early.
Such a tense moment still in this series. SKT 1 game from elimination. Bangy had played such a solid early and mid game, but ROX have been able to turn some of SKT's aggression against them right now and keep this gold very close. The longer SKT does this 1-3-1, the longer they can't stall before getting the progress. Rallies is completed on Kuro if he can catch Faker.
And Faker is definitely caught. He's gonna land the flash, and he gets away from the undertow. Moves fast enough to get away with it. Arrow's gonna hit Wolf, and it just does not matter.
But earlier, we could also see, just in the defense of that pick on Gorilla Zyra right there, the zone control that's built into this ROX comp. You have the Victor Dome on the left side, you have the Zyra ulti on the other side, you have a bunch of snares, plants coming out, the threat of damage if you move in as well. If SKT ever bite off too much that they can't shoot, they get blown up immediately.
Whoa! Bangy popped Gorilla somewhere on the side of the map, lands a javelin, lands the rest of the skills, and
Solo kill.
nothing for the Zyra to do. And the funny thing is, actually, Gorilla has a lion's share of the kills
So if
of ROX Tiger.
If Gorilla dies right there, it's very likely they was looking for a ward over the wall and he just ate a spear.
Bangy picking his spots very well. This gives over second Mountain Drake for SKT this game. That's every Mountain Drake that can possibly spawn in this game.
3 in a row. We've had Triple Ocean, Triple Infernal, now Triple Mountain. This one, though, spread apart a little bit. SKT gets 2, and now look at this, the pressure onto this turret of Smeb. It's another game where, wow, actually, he's going to Zonius to dodge through the skill shots, and now has to fear for his life. Look at the damage output from Bangy. A house will kill him off.
He's alive.
But he's dodging away finally. It's a deadly flourish, just that as Bang kills him off.
Smeb did not expect that much damage to come out of Bangy because he technically could have flashed most, if not all, of that damage if he just flashed a pounce. Bangy surprising there with the Nidalee.
Whoa, Faker, though. He's going to ult, but he's going to get hit up here. So, Gravity Field, is it available? Yes, it is. This could be difficult because Faker, he doesn't have flash, but yeah, still able to walk away from that. A trade of blows, a trade of ultimates.
And back in the day, that was much better for the Victor if the ultimate's still silenced, because you actually forced the Zillion to use his ultimate much earlier. With just a little interrupt, though, Faker can always get out.
Yeah.
Unless the Gravity Field, just like you said, respawns in time.
Yeah, and notice the picks that SKT's been able to get in the side lane as well as in the mid lane, with Bengi landing spears. The 1-3-1 finally kind of was able to crack open ROX Tigers. They caught them in a warding pattern, then they got a very good dive off, and now they're going to try, since they were able to take control of the bottom side, they're trying to transition that vision control now to the top side, where they can maybe get Baron control with their double Mountain Drake and kill the Baron very quickly.
Yeah, this is where it gets tricky, because they have to overstand deep into the enemy territory. They have to build on those pink wards they have on the right side, have Duke leverage the pressure. The second he reveals 2 members bot, they go for Baron. The second he can maybe peel off and get a good teleport, they go for Baron. But this right here, what Bengi is doing, that's what they want. They want vision in the enemy red side, choke out the vision around Nashor, and then force ROX Tigers to face check or waste all their blue trinkets and the hawk shots. There's one. One blue trinket is down, there's one more remaining.
ROX get some of their vision back. They're going to kill off this pink ward that SKT placed a little while ago, though Gorilla will have to fear for his life because Bengi's scary on this Italy. 4, 1, and 3. So far the best performing member of SK Telecom.
Second blue trinket down, there's one ward in the pit, and at this point, it's getting dark.
The thing is, they also have Ashe. So Hawkshot and 30, the trinket on Prey will also be up a little bit before then. Not to mention the Ashe Arrow could potentially scout, so I don't think they're in danger yet. SKT would most likely try and get some poke damage on someone before they really start this one.
And this is the vision from the ROX Tigers. They don't see anything in the Baron area. Luckily for them, they see a couple of members visible. Yeah. Faker just shows up. That's the power 1v1. It's such a hard time spotting where Faker
land the slow, but he's going to flash for the Q into the ulti, and he gets away from the stuns. Yes, he does. So Faker should not have an exit here. That's okay. The revive. Now it's time for the gravity field. Now how much can be done? Because keep in mind, SKT are pushing elsewhere. So Faker loses his life, but there's still more happening. Mid lane is under fire. Prey just runs to the side and says, "You can't see me anymore." Still gets the shot. Ooh. Mid tier 2 though did die for the kill on Faker.
But they traded for not only the kill, they also get some vision control here. That's more important. They had complete fog of war. If Faker and the people in the mid lane disappeared, ROX would have to face check. So I think they're happy sacrificing a single turret for a kill and honestly balancing out the vision again.
Yeah, it buys them time, but it also goes to show how difficult of a situation they are in. Curl burned both of the summoner spells there against Faker, who burned none. And while they do trade some time and a mid lane turret, they don't really gain anything outside of temporary control and just a hope that when SKT set up the next play, that ROX can get more picks.
And they have to do that with the arrow. Again, that's what Prey is looking for. The next one has to hit.
Would be super critical, especially with Duke's split pushing power right now. The overall pace of this game is much more in favor of SKT as another arrow flies wide, because ROX was the highest combined kills per minute team in this game, so the fastest pace from a kills perspective of the entire tournament, whereas SKT does play much slower. And even in this series, the accelerated kill games have gone to ROX when there's very rapid decisions. Yeah. But when it's responsive and slow like this, SKT have had the upper hand. So ROX doesn't have the tools here to accelerate the game unless the Ashe arrows are connecting.
Yeah, this game, in fact, like to talk about some statistics, this was their slowest first kill of the tournament by 50%. It was 13 minutes, this was 21. And they're just not getting a lot done. The arrows are being dodged this time around, and ROX just don't have the ways in.
We gotta check Wolf here. He's coming in with 4 wards. ROX Tigers being shoved out of the mid lane and their own jungle here. SKT aggressively moving up for vision.
Ooh, those 2 shots landed. Ooh! Bengi not quite in range, and that's going to be him getting away from the deadly flourish. Again, 1 more shot lands, and that would have been a kill on the Prey, or at least a forced summoner spell.
We can't forget there's 2 Mountain Drakes inside of SKT, and Peanut is playing a jungle with no flash, so he has to physically walk around the corner. You don't need as much fog of war as you would normally do. Even just right there, if they can get that ward and the red buff under control, they could simply rush the Baron, especially since Peanut is being poked out.
Yeah, and they still have the double TP if they wanted to try and set up a split push, but because they got Prey so low, they needed to kind of threaten the Baron right now, and they could actually be doing it with Bengi having to harass. ROX doesn't know this, so they have to look a little bit forward.
Peanut's getting a bit low, 2,000 health, and the stuns could be there, but they're not going to dive in just yet. Kuro was around to participate. Bang got dropped to half, and SKT will partially reset.
Yeah, they're resetting because we see pings on the bottom wave from SKT. Blue pinks went out on that massive minion wave in the bot lane, indicating that they want to fix that first. The first step to any objective contestant is just getting the push on your side lanes.
Creating the option to say, hey, if you ignore this, we'll just kill a turret instead. Yeah. We'll just knock down your base and forget the Baron baits. The minions are here for you. And Look at that, Duke preempts it in time. There's no pressure to be had from ROX Tigers. We're not getting a lot done with this. It'll be pushed back in. Bangy getting cut out though. Gonna flash. Actually, a flash as well from Faker to pop his own ulti. And now can they get away from the ults? It's Prey trying to tank it up, but he's gonna get into a bad way. Thankfully for Kuro, he does slink out with enough health. Faker and Bang both burning summoner spells in that one.
And a little bit sloppy there with double flashes having to be burned by SKT and not getting the kill onto the ROX Tigers. SKT are in a position where they can force a 5th game, but if they falter once, they would be out of Worlds right here. So they have to be so cautious with the way they make these plays. ROX is going to try and force them into a decision here. Split push up top from Duke. They are starting it. They know Faker has no flash. They know Bang's ultimate is down. This is huge.
This is going to be tight timing. Duke is guaranteed to be mini nar. He's got no bar at all, so no big stuns. Gorilla does not quite get caught, but he's low, and the shot comes through. 1,200 damage out of Bang. That's the one for nothing. And look at Kuro, just zoned out by Faker, not getting anything done.
Duke didn't even come in with teleports, so he canceled. ROX have to run away, but Duke's also getting the inhibitor.
And Bang's on a killing spree.
ROX forced that play without Kuro being. Kuro came from base. He doesn't have teleport. Even if Bangy dies here, Duke is just whacking away at the base.
And he's going to kill off the inhibitor, we think, so far. It's 2 for 1 overall in kills. Smeb trying to re-engage. How much damage do they have? Because Bang is on a rampage, and there's the revive. Nothing to be picked up. It's now Smeb who has to carry this fight, but he doesn't have the damage. Forced to flash away. Bang pushes him out. Faker does too.
And there's still a Gnar in the base of the ROX Tigers.
And that should be enough. The curtain call is there.
Just
this should be the land. Easy peasy. Bang is unstoppable. And Duke is still pushing. Gorilla and Peanut are the ones alive trying to keep the base up. 15 seconds and Kuro. And the teleport is in for Faker. It's SKT trying to close it out right now. Trying to bring us to game 5. Gorilla's down. Kuro's up in 4. But they need minions. They need to back off for a few more seconds, and SKT look like they will back off all the way and try again a bit later.
And for the first time this entire series, I feel ROX looked lost. They went for a panic Baron play. Their jungle was clearing out the ward. The AD carry just hit it. They didn't commit at the same frame. It was such a poor attempt too, because their mid laner wasn't even there.
Yeah, and it is a mistake, but it was almost bound to happen eventually with the way SKT was playing this game, starving them of vision back and forth and back again. And then ROX gets the one window. Gorilla stays too long, gets cut off by Bang. Faker completely cutting off Kuro on the side here. And the canceled TP by Duke, as well as the way SKT plays around this, is exquisite. They finish off Kuro and then continue to push forward. If I do nitpick right here, Faker should have been with the team to stop these recalls, and Bangy could have stayed alive, and maybe they actually win the game off the Gnar right here. But they kill Bangy, Faker's late to this arrival, and the rest of the fight plays out.
I definitely agree. Faker should stay with his team if the imperative is just to cancel the backs right there. Going for a single inhib is definitely the right play. Enemy jungle by SKT, because that's exactly how they spotted Kuro moving in. He was coming from the base because he got chunked out earlier. Again, just looking to chunk here. Maybe kill.
No flash.
Red buff on a play, and goodbye. Bangy lands the javelin. Red buff over the jungler after all.
They don't have Baron, but they might not need it right now. There's already one down turret. Prey is dead in this situation, and they even get a lot of poke on a Peanut.
And Peanut might be next in this one. Down to 2k HP. Bangy not going to dive the turret just yet on this one, but 5v4.
Yeah, ROX, only 4 members remain here. They have wave cut from the Victor, but SKT is just going to simply turn around and do the same thing again. Choke the vision out, get the Baron. If ROX face check, they're dead. If they don't, well, they lose an Asher. I don't even think Peanut can make it there in time.
Exactly, and even if Peanut is there in time, can he run through Bang right now, who's a 7-kill Jhin, and just trucking them with damage, not to mention the damage from Bangy. So Duke zoning out, no way ROX can steal this.
And it's not going to happen. An easy peasy pickup. Nicely done, SK Telecom T1. 10,000 gold in the lead, looking to take this game and bring us to the 5th game of the series.
And wouldn't that just be the epic ending to this series we've been waiting for? These games have been so closely played and so well played by both teams. It would almost be tragic if there were a big mistake by SKT here in a game that they essentially deserved to win would be lost to ROX Tigers. Elder Drake, Baron, they want to take this to a deciding game 5.
And both teams also stayed true to their style that was predicted of them. Yes, SKT is reactive in a sense, but it's because they just read the map so well. We saw Faker move around now with the Zillion as well. They just played it slow, methodical, low combined kills and deaths in the early game here. Whereas ROX, the games that they excelled in, they were bloody, they were fast-paced, there were a few mistakes, but it was Peanut going off.
We might see the SKT style workout here. 2 apiece looks to be the scoreline we're looking at. 10 kills up, 13,000 gold, and nothing else to take but the ROX Tigers base. 2 minutes, 20 seconds on the Baron buff. Minute and a half remains on Elder Dragon.
You really can't help but praise Coma and Bengi for what they pulled off here. They sub Bengi back into the series. They don't ban Nidalee.
There's a teleport.
They have a strong, successful play.
Gonna fake He's all right. That's the kills. Crucible burned by Wolf. Here comes the re-engage. Peanut is low.
Smells behind. They don't know he's there.
Way too much damage. Looking for Faker, getting shot up and blown up. Now it's Smeb on the backside, but he can't find much to do. It's still ROX Tigers waiting to find what their opening could be. It's a 2-for-0. Make that 3-for-0 as the bombs blow up even more. And this could be the game-winning play right now. Kuro's got nothing left to do. Sure, he can pop the Guardian Angel, but what does it even matter? It's a 4-for-0. It's the ace. It's the game. And it's SK Telecom T1 bringing us to Game 5.
What a series we have here. I can't wait for the 5th game. SKT fight their way back in elimination game. Bengi subs back and he saves SKT. Now we're going to Game 5.
Bring on the Silver Scrapes. Summoner's Rift himself, SKT Bengi, is undefeated in this series. And we now have the decider, the last game to play to determine which of these incredible teams deserves to represent in the final.
But they're smiling. The ROX Tigers are still smiling, and it's so important to keep up morale. They said it in their interviews as well. They never viewed SKT as an unbeatable opponent. They are not their kryptonite. They're simply another guy in the way of them reaching the Summoners Cup, and that's exactly what they want to do in Game 5.
Yep, and if they are to win the Summoners Cup, they must win the next game. And this has been such an incredible series. That game in particular was SKT's best played game of the series. They are 2-0 with Bengi. They lost both games to the surprise support MF pick, which they have finally decided to ban away. So does ROX have something else up their sleeves, or can they beat SKT at this new game they've adopted with Bengi?
But they're probably swapping sides again here. ROX very likely going to be on the blue side next time, which means that Nidalee ban is now forced on SKT, which means they have to start pivoting.
Aurelion Sol, Jace, Misfortune. Aurelion Sol, Jace have never left the ban phase so far. Is one of them going to? Does Kuro or Smeb get this champion that SKT have been too afraid of to let them play?
And I don't think we want to see Peanut on Nidalee.
I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see the red side.
More afraid of that.
This is awesome. This is the series that everyone was hoping to happen, and we're getting it.
Going to Game 5. It's going to be beautiful, but of course the teams need to prepare. So as we wait for them, let's break it down at the analyst desk.
And then maybe react with a third ban.
And you can see the first ban is already Misfortune, so something has got to give already. Something that they've not wanted to give up the entire series will be allowed.
Yep, guaranteed here with the Nidalee being banned.
So it's Aurelion Sol or Jace that's going to make its way to the first pick. Olaf is out, forcing Bengi to play Lee Sin if he wants to steal it away. If not, ROX are going to get their favorite jungler and a strong power pick early.
There's also a chance they ban something completely different so that they can get something on the return picks right here, because I actually feel like they ban Aurelion Sol just because if they do leave both of them up, they pick the Jace, and Faker doesn't want to play Aurelion Sol.
Oh, no Jace.
No rush at all, actually, and preferring, even with Zyra on the table, the Karma instead. The Misfortune, of course, is not available as the counter pick.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that happen in long series like this where you have a permaban. As soon as you drop it from the permaban, the expectation is that a team immediately pounces on it, but sometimes they don't even care. Sometimes they actually have something they want to play.
Turns out you were banning it for no reason.
Also curious is the first pick, Ashe, is also nowhere to be seen, which is interesting as well, where we had seen that several times, and it felt like it was the major reason that ROX Tigers were winning was praise Ashe, and then the previous game wasn't quite as good, and now it's just not even prioritized.
Yeah, and now with the Misfortune ban, do they just go Ashe Zyra right off the bat? There's so many different variables that they could pick for this game.
But this will be interesting, the double steal away here.
With Elise up, too, is the interesting thing for me, because I am super fearful of Peanut's Elise, although he has been prioritizing Elise in lately.
The mind games definitely going on here. The Ashe pick suddenly contested in the series, completely unprecedented here during Worlds. Everybody's like, yes, Prey is an Ashe player and he can always come back, but nobody expected it to make its way. At least not this high in priority.
Ooh, and it's the Flex Karma again.
And the Jace,
and the Jace comes through. Here we go. So
bring it.
Very few tanks available, but you've got support in the mid lane. And is it going to be Prey's incredible Jhin to round it out?
So they get counterpick jungle. They get I think this is what prompts them, honestly. They get Peanut on a counter pick jungle from whatever's remaining to give him his favorite champion that he wants to play. They have an aggro top laner right there with the Jace. Combine any jungle with that and you have so much damage. If you have the synergy to pull it off, you can definitely nail some ganks. You got free push in mid lane with the Karma. This is Peanut's playground.
And with the range they have here, I would be pretty shocked if he doesn't pick Elise later in the draft. But you're looking at SKT right now, and it does feel like ROX just pulled off a really smart move in the draft phase, whereas SKT thought they'd be able to steal the jungler, when in fact they were just moving the Karma to the mid lane. And how does Faker want to play against the Karma in the mid lane? Because they did double ban him as far as the Ryze and the Syndra are concerned. Cassiopeia is a strong pick. His Zillion was very effective, but it's super hard to land bombs on a Karma who can just speed away.
He's going to switch the last second back to the Orianna. Utility in the mid lane. Very few tanks to be had here. Bengi on the Lee Sin, of course. They already know the Jace is top, and there are the champions we expected. The Jhin, as well as the Elise. ROX on a lot of comfort here in Game 5.
But this is, just like Game 1, Peanut's first gank has to stick. We saw what happens if it misses. He falls super far behind. But look at the potential. Karma mid lane, snare onto Orianna. That's instant cocoon. It's going to hit.
Oh, the pick potential from the ROX Tigers is absurd.
Insane.
The fact that Jhin could open up, Karma can just speed to a route. Jace can speed everyone up as well, so if they do land one cocoon somewhere, even in the mid or late game, that target's mostly dead, unless Duke has become an absurd level of tanky by the end of the game. So the pushing lanes are in the favor of the ROX Tigers from this draft phase. Bunch of ranged champions, very squishy if it goes to late games, which could lead to some series-deciding shockwaves, but SKT would have to get to that point because the early pressure is in the favor of the ROX Tigers.
If we want to see what Bengi does here in this matchup, we've seen Lee Sins that can get contested so hard because they are at a jungle disadvantage. Actually start on blue side early, pick up the blue buff themselves to make it spawn at least as soon as they can and go for a full clear early on. It's actually something Peanut likes to do on Lee Sin himself. I wonder if Bengi has watched those VODs and is going for that attempt, because it could actually mean that he could outmaneuver Peanut in the jungle, because it's quite unexpected start.
And Bengi, in the 2 games he has played this series, has substantially outfarmed Peanut. First game, Olaf versus the Elise. Peanut was doubling his CS at the 10-minute mark. Next game he had Nidalee, so it was a little bit expected with the champion matchup, but Bengi has really had a heck of a series.
And it's not the first time that Bengi has low-key carried SK Telecom T1 to a playoff win. Spring 2015, they had a semifinal against CJ Entis, back when Tom was the replacement for Bengi, and SKT goes down 0-2 in the series. Bengi comes back in, reverse sweeps, and they go on to win the split, 3-0ing Tigers at the very end of it all. Here, we have the same situation. Bengi plays game 1. They say, that's nice, thanks for your time. Blank is in, though, and Blank loses 2 straight. And they say, you're right, Summoner's Rift, Mr. Jungle, Mr. Bengi, we're sorry for doubting you. Bengi's back in. He's individually 2-0 against ROX Tigers here in this set, and looking to make it a personal clean sweep, bringing SKT into the finals in this final game of the series.
Yeah, just such a series, the one we've been waiting for, and I agree with you on that Bengi point. For every superhero, they do in a sense need a sidekick, right? If Faker is Batman, Bengi is definitely Robin. No one will put Robin on their top 20 superheroes in the world, but Batman definitely needs him. And that's been Faker and Bengi's relationship, winning 2 world championships together, the only players to ever do so.
And they're on the way to a 3rd. Half of all of the world championships would have gone to SKT if they can finish through on this series and on the next one in Los Angeles next weekend. It comes down to this game. Smeb gets the Jace that was banned in the 4 games leading in. We know he's had a great series, and now he gets a dominant lane. Jace Poppy can turn either way, but I feel like you want to be the Jace in this one. You want to be Smeb here.
Yeah, let's track the jungle stars. There's no information on either side. There's a double leash here. Obviously, as Jet mentioned in the last game, there is fake leashing potential. So until these junglers get spotted, but right now both teams are under the assumption that the enemy jungler started on top side somewhere.
Yeah, and so many of these games have started with an insane focus on the bottom lane because of the crazy MF picks and the jungle pathing's always going towards them. But here we have the Jace finally making it through the pick and ban phase. Smeb, hailed as the best player in the world coming into the tournament, has been a little bit inconsistent in his play, but ROX still have a chance to win. And now he's on a champion who almost needs to crush lane to be effective. Smeb needs to shine here.
But you look, he's already playing so far forward here, just denying CS here. Yes, Duke gets the experience. In most Poppy matchups, Poppy has gone down into Jace about 30 CS early on. Then once the items start rolling in, that 30 CS disadvantage stays relatively static, but the pressure is almost always on Jace's side.
The question is, when is he going to accept pressure? We know and can kind of assume that Bengi started topside on the red buff, and Peanut's coming to help already.
Yeah, and this could actually prompt an extremely early dive. It depends on the amount of harass that Smeb would get, who's actually turning towards mid lane. Faker without cleanse.
Level 2.
Kuro with the flash snare.
Into the pillar, forcing flash. That forces flash and ghost.
It's a good plan, but it's executed poorly.
Ooh, I don't think they're going to get the dive, but it is damage.
Yeah, there's a chance they'd be able to get the kill if they wait a little bit longer on that, but getting both summoners will really diminish the pressure Faker can have in the mid lane.
But the tension is there because Peanut kind of called out that play. Again, he only waits for 3-4 seconds. He was on the way back when his mid laner flashed in. But right now, we're seeing these 3 pushing lanes come to fruition here. That's exactly why Peanut does not want to waste time ganking. Because with 3 pushing lanes, you want to finish your jungle as fast as you can, start getting control of the river, and start spotting where Bengi is in his jungle.
So much going on right now. ROX Tigers definitely have the tools for the early pressure, but yeah, that blue handoff is going to help Faker a lot.
But they're going to know.
Yep.
They're going to know that Bengi started red buff. His Krugs are still up here. Bengi's going to technically be behind in camp still if Peanut decides to outpace here.
Right, and the natural move here for Peanut, I feel like, is to try and make his way up to the top lane. They know that Bengi just handed off the blue buff. He could recall and run immediately down to the side, because now we're talking about the information Peanut is working with. So if he does want to gank the top lane, he has to go relatively quick.
Ooh,
he sneaks in.
Sneaks by. We don't know where he is right now. Neither does Bengi. Bengi's going to know the Scuttlecrab has just been taken down.
Now he has to get really scared, and he also has to tell Duke to worry out a little bit.
Oh, there he is!
The Brash, there it is, it's Peanut. A lot of damage down, 300 HP on Bengi, the repel the chase. Couple more attacks, the flash, one more Q will get him, and Peanut solo kills for first blood!
He reads the game. The blue buff handoff again cost SKT too much. It already happens in the series. When Faker walks back into lane with blue buff, it is not worth the information cost against a team so good as the ROX Tigers.
And how clutch Peanut with that move. Also burning 2 summoner spells from Faker and the flash, but Gorilla, bubble!
Re-engage, look at the damage output on towards him, 100 health left from the Zyra Prey, weaving in a couple of auto attacks, getting a decent chunk down on towards Wolf and Bang, but look at what they can do with this Nami. Another volley comes through, but it's Smeb on, no, it's actually Kuro on the chase. He's got no flash, but he's gonna land slow into a whole bunch of CC, and it forces Bang to flash out.
Oh my goodness, the early pressure by ROX is already mounting on SKT. SKT cannot lose these lanes too badly.
Bengi just wants to slow down Kuro. He doesn't care that he's spotted here, but he just wants to give this a major hit to Kuro's economy, because not only is playing against a blue buff Faker, he left lane, losing some experience here. This in turn frees up Faker, unspotted. They're looking to react here, because both Prey and Gorilla are so low. They were looking to burn chip damage or just simply die to bot lane.
Scouts the red buff. They're very low level, but it would be a 4v2, so they're...
Bengi,
Peanut
and it's
there
finally
again!
Peanut there again! To push the Lee Sin out, but be careful, because Bengi wants a bit more. Won't chomp for any extra.
Every move you make, every step you take, Peanut is watching you in your jungle if you're Bengi. The mental blow this must be. 2 times does he attempt to make a play. Twice in that brush is a nasty spider link.
And there was one other time in this tournament where the ROX Tigers were 1 game away from elimination. It was ROX Tigers against CLG in the group stage. Peanut played Elise in that game, got an early kill, and rushed Sorcerer Shoes. Then he went on to get 10 kills in that game. He's looking to do that again. He has been in the right place. He's going a build to try and carry, and now it's all about whether or not he can carry ROX to the finals.
The early Sorcerer's Shoes. It's all about how much damage he can do to other champions. That's the test for him. He's out of mana right now. He's kind of stuck in spider form farming. What he can do next.
Just like we've seen the past few games, ROX, first they use the information where Bengi is. They extrapolated it from Faker's blue buff, and they play around it. In all this time, Smeb has continuously been pushing the top lane without any repercussions, because he knew exactly where Bengi was at every single moment here. And that's the power of the ROX early game. They just find their opponent jungler and play around it.
interesting. Smeb actually allows Duke to recall. I believe he had the ability to stop it and said, no, I'd rather you go back to the base. I want to shove this in and get my own quick recall.
Yeah, Smeb also wants to get items of his own. There is the beginning of some armor for Duke, but he's not quite there yet. So I'd expect about another 10 CS advantage to creep up from Smeb, and then you hope it's equalizing, unless Peanut's able to dive that lane somehow and really snowball it in Smeb's favor.
It's a little late right now. Obviously, Poppy W can stop her release Q. Although I think it still applies to damage. It's still just too risky to dive a Poppy at this point. It's better to just have Smeb push, peel him off, and have him threaten this mid lane turret. In their past games, though, Peanut would go towards top lane Smeb here, but he's actually changing up his pattern, moving into lane gang bot. He is playing against the Hawkshot champion in Ashe, though, so this is extremely risky. High cost, high reward.
Exactly. Peanut has been so committed to ganking bottom lane, and ROX Tigers of the team have this setup. They have 2 pink wards in this bottom side. That's the lack of vision for
There we go.
SKT. They get him again.
Another stun into the root, into all the damage, and yes, they pick him off. Prey gets Wolf. 2-0 ROX Tigers.
And I said 2 pink wards. It's actually 3 pink wards to set up the bottom game, making sure nothing can see him on the approach up a sec from a except for a hawk shot.
And while it is a great play from Peanut, we have to question Bang and Wolf here when the opposing team comes back to lane with 2 pink wards. You've spotted them, you know this far before. Why would they invest so heavily in vision? You should be afraid of this brush here, but again, Peanut walks in, waits 2 seconds, gets a cocoon. This guy is so efficient.
Yeah. You definitely do have to criticize Wolf for walking past his minion waves. The only way he dies is if the cocoon hits him, and he actually had the minions there, which could block. Peanut's feeling good.
This guy ganks.
This guy knows how to play League of Legends.
Oh man, looking to get a little bit more. HP on the red buff, grabs it down. Not too big of a problem right now. Peanut level 6.
And I just love how chill they are on stage.